Konoha, Reviving Senju, starting with Concubines. Author, Vortex. Chapter 151. Niwu's sister is called Senju. Niwu. A flash of embarrassment appeared on Yukai Itachi's small face. He silently put back the book he had taken out, and struggled to identify the characters he hadn't learned yet, and found the textbook for this lesson. All this fell into Niwu's eyes, which made her a little strange. Why does this kid seem like he can't even read words? Didn't even learn the words. So you sent them to school to study? I'm afraid you don't understand what the textbook says. Niwu was full of doubts in her heart, but seeing Yukai Itachi's embarrassment that had not subsided, she was still wise not to ask. There is no need to make it more embarrassing for everyone to be at the same table on the first day. The following class, Yukai Itachi's performance again proved Niwu's suspicions. Yukai Itachi just can't read the words in the book, because he didn't read the textbook the whole time. He just flipped a page casually, and then listened carefully to the female teacher's lecture on the stage. 090. Can you understand? Niwu couldn't help asking. Yukai Itachi turned his head in surprise. I can understand. Why is Sister Niwu asking such a question? Niwu pointed to the textbook and said, you haven't seen it once, don't you understand? Yukai Itachi's face turned red again. He didn't expect that Niwu would find out. He thought he was hiding well. Embarrassment made him bow his head. Niwu also realized that he seemed to have said something wrong. But she has a remedy. Well, I'll teach you how to read after class is over. Since I can understand the teacher's lectures, you should be able to learn such small problems as literacy soon. Thank you, Sister Niwu, Yukai Itachi said gratefully. But he still didn't dare to look into Niwu's eyes. It was so embarrassing. Niwu said with a smile. You are welcome. After class, Luffy immediately dragged the new friends out of the classroom, and went to play in his spare time. Niwu began to teach Yukai Itachi from the basics in earnest. This is also convenient for Niwu to confirm the level of Yukai Itachi. The first day of JoNin's school ended peacefully like this. Yukai Fugaku, who was waiting at home, nodded to Yukai Shizui after seeing Yukai Itachi brought back by Yukai Shizui. Thank you, Shizui. This is what I should do, Lord Patriarch. Shizui scratched the back of his head, then bowed and said, I still have to practice in the future, so I will take my leave first. Well, you go. After watching Shizui leave, Yukai Fugaku couldn't wait to bring Itachi into the house. How? Have you ever compared Senju Starry Night's children? Yukai Itachi asked in bewilderment. Father, who is Senju Starry Night's child? Forehead. Yukai Fugaku froze. Of course it's the Senju in the class. Now the surname is Senju, and the one who is still in ninja school must be his Senju Starry Night child. This kind of thing is almost a normal person should know. But this normal person certainly does not include Yukai Itachi, who is only 2 years old. Yukai Itachi doesn't know why the surname Senju is the child of Senju Starry Night. Could it be that Senju Kusanai is the only one with the surname Senju who can have children? Yes, it was really only him. But Yukai Itachi doesn't know. So, Yukai Itachi tilted his head and asked suspiciously, why? Yukai Fugaku also fell into a thinking error. In short, he got into a dead end, patronized to think about the problem from his own perspective, and completely forgot his son's current age. Why is that? Are you an idiot? There is only one bastard named Senju in the world. The guy, of course only his child has the last name Senju. Then why is there only Senju Star Yoruichi whose surname is Senju? Yukai Itachi turned into 100,000 whys at this moment, and one question after another came out of his mouth. If he was the only Senju, how did he have children? Aren't I born to my father and my mother? My father and mother have the last name Yukai, so my last name is Yukai, isn't it? Then Senju Kusanai gave birth to a child named Senju. There must be another Senju born with him, isn't it? Yukai Fugaku froze. He never imagined that his child would have so many problems. Yukai Itachi is usually very quiet. This is the first time he heard Yukai Itachi talk so much, and these questions almost confused him. The child's surname follows the father's and has nothing to do with the mother's. Wait, what's the point of me explaining this to you? Yukai Fugaku shook his head hastily, and then asked his concern. This time he used a simple and direct method. Have you ever met a child named Senju? Met. Yukai Itachi nodded. He met Sister Niwu and also met Luffy Big Brother. Sister Niwu is kind and likes to help people. Luffy Big Brother is enthusiastic and likes to help others, but Luffy Big Brother doesn't like to study. Yukai Fugaku suppressed his excitement and asked in a low voice. So did you outperform them in class? Yukai Itachi thought for a while and said, I don't know, but the teacher praised me for being serious in class. When Yukai Fugaku heard this, he became excited immediately. You Senju Starry Night, your child is very talented, and my child is not bad either. I was praised by the teacher on the first day of school. Does your child have this kind of treatment? No. Ha ha ha. Happy. At this moment, Yukai Fugaku's heart was extremely transparent, and he felt that the whole person had lived. He was suppressed by Senju Kusanai from beginning to end before, which almost made him breathless. Now, he can finally breathe freely. Do you want to show off to that bastard Senju Starry Night tomorrow? he thought triumphantly. But Uchiha Itachi wasn't done talking. Uchiha Itachi looked at his jumping and laughing father strangely, not understanding what happened to him. But that didn't stop Uchiha Itachi from finishing what he hadn't finished. Because I can't read the textbook, I can only listen to the teacher's lecture. By the way, my sister also taught me how to read at 5.5. After the teacher saw it, he kept praising Sister Niwu for being a good boy. Click. Uchiha Itachi's words fell on Uchiha Fugaku's face like a bolt from the blue, freezing his smile at this moment. What did you say? Uchiha Fugaku's neck was like a stiff machine, turning around one by one. This action startled Uchiha Itachi, shrank his neck and repeated what he just said. Uchiha Fugaku's face completely darkened. Who is this Sister Niwu? What's her last name? Uchiha Itachi thought for a while, then said, Sister Niwu is called Senju Niwu. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes went dark, and he leaned back directly, and Common fell to the ground with a sound. Father, what's wrong with you? Uchiha Itachi screamed in panic. Chapter 152 One daughter equals infinite numbers? Such a good thing. What do you think Uchiha Fugaku is thinking? The child is sent to school without knowing the words. With a teasing smile, Senju Kusanai told Uzumaki Kushina the news she just heard from her daughter. Uzumaki Kushina said worriedly after listening. The child must not understand, if he can't keep up with everyone's progress. Then don't worry, our kind daughter is teaching him to read, and I heard that the speed is very fast. Senju Hoshiyoruichi looked indifferent, then looked at Senju Tsunade who was covering his face, and asked suspiciously, What's wrong with you? Why are you covering your face with a face of shame? What did you say? Senju Tsunade took his hand away with a displeased expression on his face. Uchiha Itachi was the one I agreed to let him enter the ninja school, but this kind of pressure came out. If this story spreads, what will everyone think of me? People will say that Mr. Hokage is a bit rough in his work, and the children are illiterate, so they are sent to school. Hearing this, Tanwang Sinai and Uzumaki Kushina couldn't help laughing. The matter is definitely not as serious as you think. At most, everyone will treat it as a joke after dinner, and you will forget it after a while. 28 If you really mind, I can let the newspaper publish some exciting news to cover up this matter. Senju Tsunade sighed and said in a serious manner, That's the only way to do it. I'm also confused, just thinking that Niwu and Luffy have already learned to read, subconsciously thinking that the child will also. I should have tested that child's only. Uzumaki Kushina shifted position and reached next to Senju Tsunade and hugged her shoulder reassuringly. There's nothing you can do about it. You usually have so many things to do, and it's only natural for you to be a little negligent once in a while. Senju Kusanai also persuaded, humans are not machines after all, and it is impossible to make no mistakes at all. Besides, the most embarrassing one is definitely not you, and I don't know what's going on with Uchiha Fugaku now. Thinking of this, Kusanai couldn't help laughing, but he was holding back his laughter, when Hyuga Sagiri ran over in a hurry. Huh? Why again? It's not good, husband. Crazy 3 her, she became 2? Doubtful question marks appeared on the heads of the Senju Kusanai trio. What do you mean, become 2 inseparable? Split? Senju Kusanai thought of Kyuang-san's talent at this time. As early as when Kyuang-san's talent was awakened, Ren minutes Kusanai knew that tomorrow would come sooner or later. But I didn't expect it to be so early. The 3 immediately got up and went to the courtyard where Hyuga Sagiri lived. As soon as they arrived, they saw a little Kyuang-san playing with each other in the courtyard. The 3 little Kyuang-san were wearing black and red gothic skirts. They were playful and cute, running, jumping and playing in the courtyard. As soon as he saw Senju Starry Night coming, he immediately rushed over cheering. Dad, it's Dad. Daddy is coming. The 3 daughters jumped on him. Senju Kusanai didn't have any panic in his heart, but infinite surprises rose up. One daughter equals infinite daughters? Is there such a good thing? More please. Senju stared at Yi with a big hand, holding the 3 daughters in doubt. Strictly speaking, 3 unique 3s are a witch. One is the main body, and the other 2 are Kyuang-san from the past. But Senju Kusanai knows this, but others don't. Uzumaki Kushina and Senju Tsunade looked on in surprise, next to a worried Hyuga Saro. As Kyuang-san's mother, she is very worried now, for fear that this change in her child will have a bad impact. Senju Tsunade's puzzled observation. This is clone technique? No, it's more like shadow clone. Uzumaki Kushina was even more puzzled after hearing this. Little Kyuang-san has just started to practice, so he doesn't even have much chakra in his body. How come shadow clone suddenly? After all, shadow clone needs much more chakra than clone technique. After all, it is a ninjutsu ranked at B level. You guessed wrong. This is not shadow clone. Senju Kusanai finished speaking resolutely, and looked down at her daughter. Good baby, show your mother your abilities. The little madman in the middle nodded his head triple. Then another Kyuang-san got into her shadow and disappeared. The others were stunned for a moment. This situation is indeed completely different from shadow clone. But what is the situation? They have never seen it before. Could it be related to the secret technique of the Kinliang clan? The only ninjas they know who manipulate shadows are the Naru clan. Senju Kusanai hugged Xiao Qiangsan and said with a smile, "This is one of Xiao Qiangsan's talents, summoned by his past self." "The past? Myself?" Uzumaki Kushina tilted his head, puzzled. Hyuga Sagiri doesn't care about these, she just wants to know if it will have a bad influence on her daughter. The little crazy three, is she okay? "It's okay. Don't worry, you should be happy," Senju Kusanai said with a smile. Hyuga Sagiri breathed a sigh of relief when she heard what her husband said, but she was still a little puzzled. "Happy? Why?" "Because our daughter Qiangsan only has one, but there are countless of them." Hyuga Sagiri didn't understand. But Senju Tsunade immediately realized the hidden meaning of this sentence. Is there no limit to the number of summoned past self? "That's right." 087 Senju Kusanai gave a thumbs up. Only then did Hyuga Sagiri understand, and couldn't help rolling Senju Hoshiyoruichi's eyes. But Senju Tsunade's complexion was very serious. "It's impossible for this ability to come without a price, right?" Hyuga Sagiri's heart suddenly rose again. There is indeed a price. The heart suddenly rose to the throat, and Hyuga's sac was a little difficult to breathe. "At what cost? Can I replace it?" There was even a bit of crying in Hyuga Sagiri's voice. Senju Kusanai said with a smile, "No need. Didn't I worry if I didn't look at it?" Hyuga Sagiri saw Senju Kusanai's heartless smile, and her heart dropped involuntarily. Senju Tsunade also understood that the matter was not as serious as he thought, so he immediately rolled his eyes and said, "Don't keep it up, and explain the matter clearly." Senju Kusanai sent Xiao Qiangsan to the arms of his mother Hyuga Sagiri, and then explained with a smile, "Little Qiangsan's power is to control time." "Time?" Senju Tsunade's eyes widened. Not only her, but Uzumaki Kushina and Hyuga Saori also looked at Xiao Qiangsan in amazement. They didn't expect that the cute little Qiangsan possessed such powerful power. After being surprised, Senju Tsunade nodded in agreement. "No wonder she can summon her past self, because of the power of manipulating time, isn't it?" Chapter 153 Theoretical class doesn't matter, the actual combat class must be won by Fugaku. As the children grow up, their talents begin to show little by little. Just like the movement that Qiangsan made this time. Hyuga Sagiri, who didn't know why at first, was taken aback with the awakening of Qiangsan's talent last time. The moment when Emperor Kik appeared, how similar it is now. But after realizing that this is Kairumi's unique talent, the worry on Hyuga Sagiri's face disappeared, and instead turned into an unconcealable pride. "Look, this is the daughter of me and my husband. See how powerful and endearing her unique gifts are." Hyuga Sagiri's face clearly expressed all her thoughts. The current Qiangsan is still unable to accurately control the power of Emperor Kik, and will summon a past self unconsciously. There was a bit of a panic at first, but when everyone is familiar with it, they will get used to it. Before I knew it, Nia and Luffy had been in ninja school for a week. During this week, I have been learning various theoretical knowledge. Under Niwu's teaching, Uchiha Itachi quickly mastered the ability to recognize characters. After all, he is a filial son, so he still has talent. As the bell rang after school in the afternoon, the fast-moving students had already ran out of the classroom. "It's Luffy. He is the naughtiest boy in the class." But the female teacher in charge of the class did not leave, but stood on the podium and exhorted, "The training course will start tomorrow. Please be prepared and remember to bring your ninja gear." "Okay, teacher." The children answered obediently. Some people are looking forward to the training course, some are calm, and some are resisting. But no matter what kind of attitude, it will not affect tomorrow's course. Starting tomorrow, you will be able to see the gap between every student. For a ninja, no matter how strong the theory is, actual combat is the only test of a ninja's strength. After Uchiha Fugaku got the news from Uchiha Itachi, a look of excitement appeared on his face. It doesn't matter if the theoretical knowledge is inferior, that thing doesn't matter at all. As long as you are better than the children of Senju Starry Night in actual combat. Remember, you must get the best results in tomorrow's training. Do you understand, Kay? "No. I'm a little worried. Go out for me after dinner, and I'll give you special training myself." Then, poor Uchiha Itachi didn't enjoy a warm bed when he got home. Instead he was dragged by Uchiha Fugaku for special training until midnight before he was allowed to go back to sleep. It was torture for the young Uchiha Itachi. Although Uchiha Itachi itself is not resistant to this kind of thing, he regarded it as a parent-child activity with his father. The next morning, the lack of rest made Uchiha Itachi a little unresponsive, with a listless look on his face. Immediately, it caught the attention of my deskmate and literacy teacher, Niwu. "Itachi, what's wrong with you? Are you uncomfortable?" "I trained late with my father last night, and I was a little sleepy." Uchiha Itachi rubbed his eyes, looking sleepy. Gnu said with some worry, "Then why don't you rest for a while? The training effect of waiting for a while is definitely not good." "Don't worry, Sister Niwu, I will work hard," Uchiha Itachi said bravely. Seeing this, Niwu was worried but didn't say much. It's just that his eyes fell on Uchiha Itachi frequently, and once he found a problem, he immediately took Uchiha Itachi to the infirmary. Fortunately, Uchiha Itachi has nothing unusual except frequent yawns, Soon it was training time. Under the leadership of the teacher, everyone came to the playground where the Japanese film was empty. The surrounding area is surrounded by walls, so as not to accidentally injure other people during training here, or other people accidentally throw things like kunai over during training. After all, children's accuracy still needs to be guarded for a while. The female teacher stood in front of the arranged students, clapped her hands to attract everyone's attention and said, "Okay, today's training is about shuriken throwing. As a ninja, shuriken throwing is one of the necessary abilities of a ninja, and a small shuriken may affect the outcome of the battle. So, I hope you all keep your spirits up and bring out your best. Who will do a demonstration first?" The female teacher looked around, and as her voice fell, the eyes of the children involuntarily focused on several people. Before the children go to JoNin school, they will receive some training at home, especially those whose parents are ninjas can get in touch with them early. Not to mention the ninja people. Not only do they need to be exposed to ordinary training, but also to be exposed to the secret arts of their respective families. Therefore, when entering school, students from ninja families tend to perform much better than children from ordinary families. But now, there are not many ninja children in this class, but there are 2 children of the Senju clan, the top family in the village at present. There is also a transfer student from the Uchiha clan. Naturally, they attracted everyone's attention. The female teacher was a little embarrassed. She didn't want these 3 children to show up. Although they come from a big family, the 3 of them are only 2 or 3 years old, a few years behind the other children who are 6 or 7 years old. I don't know if he has been trained or not. If once the invitation comes up, and then the demonstration effect is a mess, then she doesn't know how to end it. Just as she was about to pick a student from another ninja, a figure stretched out its hand and shouted loudly, "I'm coming." "Teacher, I want to demonstrate." When the female teacher saw it, she was dizzy. "Isn't this Senju Luffy?" He obviously wanted to avoid it, but he didn't expect the other party to come up on his own initiative. Now the female teacher has a headache, but Luffy has already raised her hand. If she ignores it, it will be a big blow to the child's enthusiasm. So she could only say with a stiff smile, "Since Luffy, Niwu's student is willing to come up to give a demonstration, let's applaud and encourage." After all, student Luffy is only 3 years old. If you make a mistake, please don't laugh at it. She couldn't help but pile up her armor before inviting Luffy up. Seeing that she was selected, Luffy immediately proudly said to the friends next to her, "Wait a while to see my performance." Then he walked forward with his head held high and his chest held high, and came to the teacher. "Teacher, what should I do?" FK. Hearing Luffy's words, black lungs suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. It's said that it's a shuriken throwing technique. How else can it be done? Of course, pick up the shuriken and throw it at the target not far away. Does this need to be said? But a female teacher must not say that to a child. The smile on her face was still stiff. "Well, student Luffy, you just need to throw the shuriken you prepared to hit the target." Chapter 154. Student Luffy, if you want to demonstrate, just choose one. As soon as he heard that he was going to use a shuriken, Luffy's expression suddenly fell. He was distracted just now and didn't hear what the teacher said. When he came back to his senses, he saw everyone was looking at him. He asked in panic, only to realize that the teacher wanted someone to go up to demonstrate. Upon hearing this, Luffy did not panic. "It's just a demonstration, I can do it." So Luffy raised his hand decisively. But he didn't expect to demonstrate a shuriken. You know, he has been learning gymnastics from Chenbo-jun and Might Dai, and he has practiced boxing kung fu. Things like shuriken will only hinder his actions, so Luffy has no training at all. Certainly, basic training is still there, but compared to his physical skills, it is really far worse. When the female teacher saw Luffy's face down, she felt a chill in her heart. "Haven't you practiced? Then what are you doing here?" The female teacher feels that her future is bleak. At this time, Luffy reluctantly took out 3 shurikens from the ninja bag. Then he looked intently at the target 10 meters away. For children, this distance is just right. However, seeing Luffy directly took out 3 shurikens, the female teacher felt that Luffy was a bit lofty. "You may not be able to throw even one to understand, but you get 3? So she spoke. "Student Luffy, if you only need 1/820 demonstration." Whoosh, took, took, took. The female teacher couldn't finish her words. Her eyes widened in shock, her neck turned stiffly like a machine to look at the target not far away. The 3 shurikens are exactly inserted in the center of the 3 targets, very precise. At this moment, the female teacher felt that her gloomy future suddenly became extremely bright. "You know shuriken, you should have said earlier. Why do you still put on that unwilling face?" It is true that he is the child of the idol Senju Hoshio-kun, who has such superb shuriken throwing skills at the age of 3. General JoNin may not be able to match. Only Luffy pouted and walked back with his head down. "Wait, don't go yet." The female teacher held back Luffy, who was about to leave, and said loudly to everyone. Everyone applauded quickly, thank Luffy for the perfect demonstration. However, you don't need to imitate Luffy and force yourself to throw 3 shurikens. You only need to throw 1 on the target to qualify. Clap 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 dash. Everyone came back to their senses immediately and began to applaud Luffy warmly. Luffy looked up suspiciously. "My grades, neg, So poor. Why are you still applauding me? Isn't this something anyone can do? Among the children who started training at home, Luffy was the worst at shuriken throwing. So Luffy always thought that his shuriken throwing skills were poor. In fact, this is because he lacks other objects for comparison. With Luffy off to a good start, the smile on the female teacher's face suddenly brightened. Okay, now everyone come one by one. The teacher wants to see everyone's level. It doesn't matter if you don't have confidence in yourself. As long as you work hard, we still have a long time to learn. Come on, Itachi-san, let's start with you. Hokage Itachi stepped forward vigorously, and then took out 3 shurikens from the ninja bag. When the female teacher saw it, her face froze again. No, I just said 1. Can't you hear what I'm saying? 1 will do. A little tired Hokage Itachi stepped forward, looking at the shuriken target not far away. His eyes froze. The process of yesterday's special training with his father, it appeared in front of his eyes and turned into his strength. He clenched the slightly heavy shuriken tightly in his small hand, and then swung it abruptly. Whoosh! The female teacher's eyes moved sideways and then fell, watching the 3 weak shurikens fall to the ground. Then she looked back at Hokage Itachi. Is this the Hokage clan from Legendary? The level of this shuriken is too bad, isn't it? Not even half the distance? No, Itachi is still young, so it's normal to have no strength. This is normal. The female teacher kept giving herself reasons to convince herself. However, the haughty look of the Hokage ninja who was dealt with before keeps appearing in front of his eyes. Once upon a time, when she was in ninja school, she was ridiculed by Hokage at the same time in shuriken throwing. She clearly knew that Hokage Itachi's shuriken throwing technique was very powerful. Unexpectedly, Hokage Itachi, the son of the patriarch, didn't even have the strength to throw the shuriken on the target. Now, the female teacher fell into deep doubts. Your child does not know the words, and the training effect is not good. Is it necessary to send him to ninja school so early? What is this picture? Let other classmates laugh at your child? Aren't you sick? The female teacher was puzzled. I can't figure out what Hokage Fugaku is thinking. Teacher, Itachi-san is too tired. Let him rest first. Come on for training after he has rested. The other students looked at the downcast Hokage Itachi and started whispering. Only Niwu raised his hand to clear Hokage Itachi. The female teacher noticed the tired look on Hokage Itachi's face. How did I not notice it earlier? I secretly criticized my poor eyesight. Teacher Nan nodded and said, then I'm counting on you. You can send Itachi-san to the infirmary to rest first. Gnu nodded, stepped forward and left with a disappointed Hokage Itachi. Wait for him to go. The voices of the children's discussion suddenly became louder. I thought he was very strong, but I didn't expect that he didn't even have strength. Is this the Hokage family? I don't think so. Don't forget, Itachi-san is only 2 years old. It's normal to have no strength. Why did he go to JoNin school when he was 2 years old? Isn't it good to stay at home? The female teacher hurriedly clapped her hands to interrupt their discussion. Okay, let's continue training and stop talking about irrelevant things. The majesty of the teacher made the children shut up, and one by one obediently began to throw shurikens. People who don't have much confidence in themselves throw a shuriken honestly, and are happy to throw their shuriken on the target. Some kids are so confident they want to throw 3 at a time like Luffy. But without exception all failed. Either it was sideways, or the strength was scattered, and it didn't even reach the target. The test that was originally used to test the children's usual level turned out to be completely incapable of being used as a basis for judging because of Luffy's leading role. Because all but Luffy are disqualified. The female teacher was full of helplessness, so she could only announce to start again. This time you must vote for 1, not more. In this way, she got a test result that can confirm everyone's level. In general, the level is still within the standard. There were more than 50 people in the class, and only 3 of them did not reach the passing line. Chapter 155 Son, I'll do justice for you, by Fugaku. Is it okay today? I've been training with him until midnight. Hokage Fugaku is full of confidence. Yesterday he deliberately took time out to accompany Hokage Itachi in special training until very late. And it's the shuriken throwing technique that the Hokage clan is very good at. Today's training will definitely get a high score. There is no doubt about this in Hokage's mind. Then, he saw his son followed Hokage Shizui back to the door with his head downcast. Hokage Fugaku thumped in his heart immediately, didn't wait for them to walk into the yard, and came directly over. What's wrong? Could it be that you were bullied by the children of Senju Starry Night? How does Senju Starry Night educate children? Even if they lose to you in training, it's not a reason to beat you together. Let me see if you're hurt. Hokage Fugaku didn't think of any other possibility at all. In my mind, I only thought that my son could not lose. As a result, when he saw Hokage Itachi's state, he didn't notice the most likely result at all. Hokage Itachi looked at his father's bewildered state, and immediately shrank his neck. How dare he say that he got the last place in the class? Isn't this putting a cannon in his father's chest? But Shizui said honestly, Itachi is nothing. The teacher in the infirmary just said that he lacks rest, and told him to remember to rest early when he goes back. Uchiha Fugaku frowned upon hearing this. Is this possible? Even the infirmary is out. Could it be that my son was beaten to the infirmary? How ruthless are the children of Senju Kusanai's family. No, I can't accept this grievance. I must come to the door to settle the score. Son, don't be afraid, I will give you justice. Saying that, he took Uchiha Itachi's hand and went straight to Senju's station. Uchiha Itachi was suddenly dragged away with a dazed face, leaving Uchiha Shizui stunned in place, not following Uchiha Fugaku's thoughts. Soon, the filial son was taken to the gate of the Senju resident by his father. Uchiha Fugaku knocked on the door with great momentum. Senju Starry Knight, you bastard, get out. Since you dare to let your child bully my son, then don't shrink back and be a turtle. The people on the street saw the excitement, especially the patriarchs of the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan. They all stopped and waited and watched. In a short period of time, more than 100 people gathered together, and they only needed things like peanuts and melon seeds. It's late. What happened? I don't know. It seems to be related to the child. I heard, Chief Uchiha said that the children of Chief Senju bullied his children. He came here to ask for an explanation. It turned out to be like this. I didn't expect the Senju patriarch to be so kind, but his child bullied other children, and the Uchiha patriarch's child is probably only a little over 2 years old. What do you know? The son of the Senju patriarch is only over 3 years old, and the children are just fighting. How can the non-Zibo patriarch come over to ask the crime himself? Anyway, there must be melons in here. Everyone should look carefully. Uchiha Fugaku, who was angry, ignored the people who were eating melons not far away. He just wanted to vent the anger of his son being bullied. As for Uchiha Itachi, although he was still young, he already understood that his silence just now seemed to cause trouble. Originally, I just didn't know what to say about the excellent result I got. As a result, I didn't expect things to turn out like this. In the blink of an eye, he was brought to the gate of Senju's garrison. Now he couldn't even run. Well, father, in fact, Uchiha Itachi tugged at his father's sleeve, intending to report his achievements in a low voice. But the door was opened at this time. Frowning Senju Kusanai came out, followed by Uchiha Mikoto with a big belly. Seeing Uchiha Mikoto's state, Uchiha Fugaku's eyes turned red immediately. Jealousy tore him apart. He immediately yelled at Senju Kusanai. Look at how you educate your children. You even beat my son to the infirmary. Isn't it just that the training results surpassed your child's? You have such a hard hand on my child. Your child is simply uneducated. Senju Kusanai frowned more and more. This matter was different from what he had heard. What nonsense are you talking about? Obviously, your son lacked rest and couldn't even complete the training, so my daughter sent him to the infirmary. 0 for flowers. How did it turn into my daughter bullying your son in your mouth? How could Uchiha Fugaku believe such words at this time? He was already caught in his own subjective thoughts, and he was stimulated by seeing Uchiha Mikoto who was pregnant. He directly lost his ability to think, and didn't even think about how unreliable his thoughts were. Don't quibble. There is a child like Lozi. Your child has the same virtue as you. You know how to bully others. A cold light flashed in Senju Kusanai's eyes. But before he could say anything, Uchiha Mikoto behind him couldn't listen anymore. Enough. Niwu is not the kind of child who messes around. She is kind-hearted and likes to help others. How could she bully others? 0. And your child doesn't even have a single scar on his body. What is the medical technology in the infirmary so strong? Even the scars can be perfectly healed? If it is against Senju Starry Knight, Uchiha Fugaku believes that he will not lose, even if his whole body is gone. His mouth must still be alive. But now standing in front of him is the white moonlight in his mind, and his persistence suddenly collapsed. Well, Mikoto, he stuttered and said, his face turned red. Obviously, he was full of anger and wanted to yell at Senju Kusanai, but when Uchiha Mikoto stepped forward, he couldn't even speak clearly. At this time, the whispering voices of the onlookers behind him reached his ears. I seem to know what's going on. What? You know what's going on? Careful. The thing is like this. Isn't today the day when the new ninja school students start training? I know this too. Could it be related to this matter? My son is also a new student this year. He came back and told me that there is a kid who is very funny. Is that the kid? That's right. They are the children of the Uchiha patriarch. Aren't they Uchiha people very good at throwing shurikens? As a result, this child came up and took out 3 shurikens. It looked quite bluffing, but after throwing them out, the shurikens it didn't even fly 5 meters. PFFT. It's hard to say. Hearing the voice of suppressed laughter behind him, Uchiha Fugaku's face suddenly turned blue and purple. Chapter 156. You are the one who caused all this. Uchiha Fugaku. If there was a crack in the ground, Uchiha Fugaku would slip in without any hesitation. What a shame. He is the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, the captain of the guard, and all his face is lost at this moment. Uchiha Fugaku felt as if his face was being scorched by flames. It was extremely hot. The sight of the people around him made him feel like he was falling into the abyss. He was even a little suffocated. HMPH, you don't even know the ins and outs of the matter, so you ran to me to mess around? It seems that I gave you a little discount before, So you think you can push your nose on your face? Senju Starry Night's icy voice is like a bone-chilling spring of ice, washing Uchiha Fugaku's soul. It made him shiver tremblingly. He looked up and met Senju Kusanai's indifferent gaze. From today onwards, anyone from Ueki's 077 Wave Clan who buys my products will have their prices raised by 50%. Thump. I was wrong. Uchiha Fugaku fell directly to his knees. His head was directly hammered on the ground, and he assumed a very standard doujutsu posture, and put his posture to an extremely low position. Senju Kusanai's words were interrupted, and he didn't continue. Obviously, he holds the economic lifeline of everyone, and if he wants to subdue others, he doesn't need to dirty his hands at all. It's as if now, just a light word can make the Uchiha Patriarch, who was still invincible just now, fall to his knees. Remember, this is the last time. If anything like this happens again, I will directly deprive you of the right to live in Senju properties. Senju Kusanai finished speaking coldly, and walked back with Uchiha Mikoto who had the same cold eyes. The door slammed shut, causing Uchiha Fugaku's body to tremble. His drooping face was pale. It never occurred to him that he who came to Xingshi to inquire about his crimes would become the one who knelt on the ground and confessed his mistakes. Where did he go wrong? Correct. It's the rebel Itachi. How dare you lie to me? Not only did it embarrass me in front of everyone, but it almost ruined the future of our Uchiha clan. This rebellious son is simply unfilial. Uchiha Fugaku stood up from the ground, holding Uchiha Itachi's hand with a blank expression. Gone. Father? Uchiha Itachi shouted in a low voice with timid eyes. He feels that something is wrong with his current father, which makes people feel scared. Uchiha Fugaku didn't respond to his son's call, and brought Uchiha Itachi back to the Uchiha tribe's land under the strange eyes of everyone. The silence along the way made Uchiha Itachi feel more uncomfortable. But he didn't dare to continue to make a sound, because he could feel that under his father's silence, there was a huge and incomparable anger. If one is not careful, it will be completely detonated. Go home. Uchiha Itachi doesn't feel any sense of security. Instead, there is a calm before the storm. Coming to the courtyard, Uchiha Fugaku let go of his hand and let Uchiha Itachi stand in the middle of the courtyard. Stand up obediently. Uchiha Fugaku said softly, and walked into the room without looking back. When he came out again, there was already an extra knife in his hand. Seeing this bamboo knife, Uchiha Itachi couldn't help being taken aback. What is further doing here? Silently came to his son. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes did not show any fluctuation. Itachi, as the Uchiha clan, we have our own pride. You let me down today. You lied to me. Uchiha Itachi looked blank. Father, I haven't spoken yet. The only thing to say was also interrupted, resulting in the only opportunity to tell Uchiha Fugaku the truth of the matter was also interrupted. If it had been said at that time, things would definitely not be like this. Don't quibble. Uchiha Fugaku let out a roar, and Uchiha Itachi's little face suddenly turned pale. He had never seen such an angry father. Only occasionally can I hear the sound of my father crying at night. Father at this moment, makes little Uchiha Itachi full of strangeness. Hold it, and remember the feeling. Uchiha Fugaku held up the bamboo sword high, his eyes full of determination. Uchiha Itachi stared blankly. He was still young and had no idea why things turned out like this. Stop. What are you trying to do, you bastard? Suddenly, there was a roar of the East Lion, which made Uchiha Fugaku shiver. Uchiha Itachi turned his head and looked at the familiar figure. Master? Uchiha Itachi's mother rushed over and hugged the little Itachi tightly, eyes full of anger and disappointment, staring at Uchiha Fugaku. How dare you beat my son? Itachi is only less than 3 years old. How dare you beat my son who is less than 3 years old with a bamboo knife? Are you f***ing crazy? Snapped. A crisp slap directly slapped Uchiha Fugaku's face. This slap didn't hold back any hands, and directly cracked the corner of Uchiha Fugaku's mouth. Blood immediately flowed down the corner of his mouth. You're just a woman who doesn't understand anything. Uchiha Fugaku held out his hand towards Uchiha Itachi with neither sad nor happy eyes. If you are still a Uchiha, then accept your practice obediently. Bullshit punishment. Another slap, and Uchiha Itachi's mother looked at Uchiha Fugaku like she was looking at a scum. I won't let them stay with you. Fortunately I saw it today, otherwise Itachi and Sasuke would be finished. From today onwards, you will never see my child again. After speaking, she picked up Uchiha Itachi, and then Uchiha Sasuke who walked from the room also took it away. Wait, you can't go. Uchiha Fugaku stopped at the door. His eyes were full of anger. None of you can go. What? You are a trash yourself, and you still want us to follow you? A worthless trash? The tone of the child's mother 1.5 is extremely ironic. I already know what happened. This matter has become what it is now, and it is all your responsibility. It is your responsibility to take Itachi to train late at night, causing him to lose energy in class training. It's your responsibility not to listen to your son, but to fantasize about things on your own. Things have come to this point, it's all your responsibility, and you still want to push everything on the child? You really let me down? Just because you are worthy to be the head of the Uchiha clan? Get out of the way. Pushing Uchiha Fugaku away with her shoulders, the mother of the child left the house with the 2 children in her arms without looking back. Uchiha Itachi lay on his mother's shoulder, looking at his father's back. He saw endless loneliness. It's like seeing a dog that has lost everything. Chapter 157 Let Me Rectify Your Name. By female teacher. Senju Kusanai's original good mood was completely ruined. I just learned that Yikang is pregnant today, and it has been a month. He also plans to celebrate well. As a result, Uchiha Fugaku came to the door and made a fuss. This directly made Senju Kusanai feel extremely bad. If it weren't for this, Senju Starry Night would not casually say that the Uchiha people buy products and add money. Not to speak bluntly of driving all Uchiha people out of Senju properties. Although the two families do not fight each other, they belong to the same village after all. Senju Kusanai can now be said to be the most powerful person in Konoha village, so naturally he has to be generous enough. Otherwise, let outsiders see the joke. It's really bad luck. Senju Kusanai pouted. Uchiha Mikoto next to him also sighed. I didn't expect Fugaku to become what he is now, although Uchiha Fugaku doesn't have that kind of emotion. But no matter what, she was also a childhood sweetheart, and Ping Shiyuzabo Fugaku took good care of her. It turned out that only a few years had passed, and Uchiha Fugaku was 30 and no longer looked like the person she remembered. Only a savage impression of savagery was left. Don't talk about him. There is still something to celebrate Yikang's pregnancy today. Let this unhappy thing go. Senju Kusanai stretched out his arms and held Uchiha Mikoto in his arms. The other hand rests on the protruding arc, stroking gently. You say, will it be a boy or a girl this time? So do you want a boy or a girl? I can do anything, as long as you give birth to me. It is my baby. I already have a boy. This time I want a girl. Uchiha Mikoto put his hand on Senju Kusanai's hand, letting him feel carefully the life she was gestating. Her lowered eyes were full of maternal love. Although Mukuro is also very cute, but looking at the daughters of other sisters, I always think in my heart that it would be great if Mukuro was a girl. If you should know, you will definitely be very sad. Senju Starry Night joked. Uchiha Mikoto also smiled and said, Mukuro is very sensible. I asked him before whether he wanted a younger brother or a younger sister. He seemed to know what answer I wanted, and he said bluntly that he wanted a younger sister. Senju Kusanai said with a smile. Then give him a younger sister. It doesn't matter if it's not this time. We'll keep giving birth to a daughter. What do you take me for? A sow that gives birth? Uchiha Mikoto rolled his soft eyes and gently pushed him away. Okay, don't be talkative. Hurry up and get ready. Let's stay with Sister Yikang. Yikang was very happy when he just found out that he was pregnant, but also very nervous. This is also the norm for new mothers. It's a joy to have children of your own. But I am very worried about whether I can raise my child well. The more sensitive the mind, the stronger this feeling of fear. But Yikang doesn't need to worry at all, because there are too many experienced sisters around her. Surrounded by Senju Kusanai's wives, Yikang's nervousness is quickly relieved. Night. The celebratory banquet was not much affected. Everyone's face is full of smiles. The sound of children playing and fighting filled every corner of the family. Seeing this scene, Senju Tsunade couldn't help feeling emotional. It's been a long time since I saw such a lively scene. It's all thanks to you, Starry Night. Senju Kusanai smiled and said to Senju Tsunade, this is my responsibility as the head of the Senju clan. Senju Tsunade leaned gently on Senju Kusanai's arms, watching the lively scene in the courtyard together. The next day, Ninja School. Uchiha Itachi goes to school as usual, but he can feel the strange eyes of the students around him. What happened yesterday has spread rapidly, and the influence is fermenting. Everyone looked at him with mocking eyes. It seems to be saying that he is beyond his control. Uchiha Itachi didn't say a word about it, just clenched his fingers. Students, the content of today's training is gymnastics. The teacher will be your training partner. Just let go. Don't worry about hurting the teacher. The female teacher brought the students to the playground, holding 2 training targets in her hands to resist the attacks of the students. She put on the 2 boxing targets first, and then said to the students with a smile on her face, just like yesterday, this training is just to confirm the level of the students. Even if you feel that your level of physical skills is not enough, it doesn't matter, just work hard in the future. Now, I choose a classmate to demonstrate. Well, let Uchiha Itachi-san do it. She looked at Uchiha Itachi with a good-natured smile. She also heard about what happened yesterday, but she knew more. At that time, Uchiha Itachi was very tired due to lack of rest. And according to the results she observed, if Uchiha Itachi hadn't lacked strength, the 3 shurikens would definitely be able to hit the bullseye accurately. As a JoNin, I still have this vision. Therefore, this time she took the initiative to let Uchiha Itachi come up to demonstrate, because she believed that Uchiha Itachi's level is not bad. At the same time, it also dispelled the contemptuous attitude of other students towards Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi stepped forward with a tense face when his name was called. He could feel the eyes of many behind him, but he doesn't care. 707 Uchiha Itachi first bowed seriously before speaking. Please teach me more. Okay, let's go ahead and attack. Clap. The female teacher patted the target on her hand and lowered her body slightly. The other students looked at the height comparison between the little Uchiha Itachi and the female teacher, and the corners of their mouths were already grinning. ready to make a mocking smile. Then, they saw Yukai Itachi's sharp sprint, and the weak chakra circulating in his body, making Yukai Itachi's small body burst out with strength that is not at his age. Although it is only equivalent to the power of a teenage common boy, it is already very incredible to show it to Yukai Itachi, who is only 2 years old. I knew it. Come on, Itachi-san. The female teacher was full of smiles. This kind female teacher is not only happy for her choice. She could already imagine the shock of the other students. At a distance of 3 meters, Yukai Itachi stepped hard and jumped high. Then the small body suddenly spun in the air, throwing a whip kick. Konoha Ryu Leaf Hurricane snapped. The female teacher accurately blocked the attack, but Yukai Itachi's attack was not over yet. With the help of the blocked force, Yukai Itachi twisted his waist and directly used another leaf hurricane in another direction. Smooth movement, beautiful posture. Chapter 158. What's going on with the children of the Senju clan? Exclamation mark. Wow, all the students were stunned. He actually completed the second combo in the air extremely swiftly. Although they were all blocked, this kind of attack fluency was something they couldn't do at all. Yukai Itachi fell from the sky and stood firmly on the ground. His eyes were a little lost. He thought he could hit the female teacher, but the second kick was still blocked. This is also normal. Itachi is only 2 years old, and the female teacher is already a JoNin who has experienced a real battle. The actual combat gap between the two cannot be ignored. Good job, Itachi-san. The female teacher first gave a compliment, and then looked at the shocked expressions of other students with their mouths open with satisfaction. Student Yukai Itachi's was very successful. Other students should continue to work hard. Itachi should not be 3 or 4 years younger than you. However, none of the students responded to the female teacher's words. They were still immersed in shock, completely unexpected that the little guy who couldn't even throw a shuriken yesterday could use such a smooth chain attack. It is really beyond their comprehension. It's just one night. What happened in this world? Why is there such a huge gap between Yukai Itachi and the front? They who are just children naturally can't figure it out. Okay, who's coming next? If you don't take the initiative, then I will call names, the female teacher said with a smile on her face, her eyes scanning the students. Then, she saw an arm raised high. Teacher, I'm coming. The corner of the female teacher's mouth twitched, looking at Luffy, who not only raised her hand, but also kept jumping up. She didn't want Luffy or Niwu up so early, because there is a huge gap between the strength of these two children and other students. If the two of them were allowed to play early, their amazing performance would directly hit the enthusiasm of other students. At that time, the most accurate training results will not be obtained. However, he couldn't dampen Luffy's enthusiasm. Seeing that the other students had no intention of coming up, they could only nod helplessly and said, "Then you come on, classmate Luffy." Luffy immediately stepped forward happily, and then stood 10 meters away from the female teacher. The female teacher is also carefully prepared. But what she never expected was that Luffy's attack was so incredible. During this period, Luffy kept rotating his right arm, with a happy smile on his face, and shouted loudly, "Rubber rubber." Rubber? A question mark popped up in the female teacher's heart. And what does that pose mean? Aren't you going to rush over? Bullet, swish. Luffy's arm extended instantly, and his fist rushed in front of the female teacher in the blink of an eye. It's over. The female teacher only had time to flash a thought before she was punched and sent flying. The female teacher never expected it. Luffy actually attacked from such a distance. But this is definitely not ninjutsu. No human arm can stretch that long. Oh? Didn't you say you can block it? Luffy felt that he had gotten into trouble, and couldn't help scratching his head and putting on a bitter face. This is bad. If my mother finds out, a beating will be unavoidable. It wasn't painful, but it wasn't uncomfortable either. Especially being looked at by other younger siblings, his dignity as a big brother will be gone. Well, Niwu sighed. She knew that Luffy would definitely get into trouble, but she didn't expect it to be so fast. And beat the teacher. Now Luffy will be fired. Would you like to ask the teacher for a favor later? Forget it, Luffy. The troublemaker. Stay at home, so as not to let him come out and cause trouble to others. Niwu talked to himself for a while, watching Luffy shake his head helplessly. The female teacher got up and shook her head. This punch hit her on the nose unpreparedly, making her dizzy. And Luffy's punch was very heavy, not like the strength of a 3-year-old child at all. But these are not what the female teacher cares about. She was more concerned about what happened to Luffy's abnormal arm. As for other students, they were all scared. They all stood in place like stone sculptures, their eyes wide open and their mouths wide open, looking at Luffy in disbelief. It's like watching a monster. Luffy, what's the matter with your arm? Is it some kind of secret technique? The first thing the female teacher thought of was the secret technique. The Senju family has a big business, and it's normal for her to have some secret arts that she doesn't know about. Although Konoha now exchanges all ninjutsu in the form of merit, the secret techniques of each ninja clan are also included. However, not everyone can learn these secret techniques. At least the female teacher doesn't know any secret arts, and she doesn't have merits that can be exchanged for any secret arts. She didn't expect to be able to learn those things, so she had to teach the students to become an excellent ninja instead. My arm? It's not a secret technique. It turns out that's how it is. Luffy didn't know how to explain it, and scratched his head with a distressed expression. It was Niwu who came out and gave an explanation. Teacher, Luffy's body is naturally different from others. His body stretches like rubber, like this. As he said that, Niwu grabbed Luffy's face and pulled it. It was so long. Everyone was taken aback again. Many timid students rolled their eyes and fainted on the spot. The corner of the female teacher's mouth twitched, thinking it was a secret technique. It turned out to be missing. Is this the limit of blood succession? What's the use of blood succession limit that turns the body into rubber? Does it not conduct electricity? At least the female teacher couldn't think of the use of turning her body into rubber. It was just by surprise that the female teacher didn't react. If it was a normal battle, she could easily block this move. Well, since it's a physical reason, forget it. The female teacher waved her hand and said, "The next one, forget it, you should come." Classmate Niwu. Seeing the trembling of other, classmates, the female teacher had no choice but to give up. She knew that today's gymnastics test was over. Niwu nodded calmly, and stood opposite the female teacher. Then asked seriously, "Teacher, I will do my best." The female teacher's face suddenly became serious. Having just experienced the incredibleness of Luffy, she knew that the little girl in front of her must also have something extraordinary. After all, she is the daughter of that Senju Starry Knight. Clap. She clapped the fist target in her hand vigorously, and took a defensive posture. That way you won't be attacked. Then lift. She saw Niwu's body. A light appeared. The light enveloped Niwu's body, and Niwu's body gradually grew in the light. The female teacher was dumbfounded. Luffy's body is rubber. What about your body? What the hell do the Senju kids do? Chapter 159 Am I really ready to be a father? As Niwu's body gradually grew larger in the light, her aura also became stronger. Then, as Niwu grew into the body of an adult woman, the light suddenly dissipated, revealing a completely different image. The whole person was floating, and his feet did not land on the ground. The body is covered with mysterious close-fitting armor, and the long hair flutters wantonly. In his hand, he held a strange long-handled weapon, etc., etc. The female teacher hurriedly called to stop. This is just a simple physical test. There is no need to make such a big fuss. Niwu paused as he raised his weapon, and then said in doubt, "What's wrong, teacher? It's just a test. You are too exaggerated, classmate Niwu." The female teacher couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, although her voice has become a little more mature, she is still her student and has not turned into any strange person. Moreover, the aura of this image is too strong. Just facing Niwu, the female teacher feels her soul trembling. She couldn't bear this blow. The light converged on Niwu's body again, and then Niwu gradually became smaller and turned into its original appearance. Niwu still can't maintain this form for a long time, and now he can only maintain it for 10 seconds at most. After the transformation was lifted, Niwu's aura was slightly disturbed, because the transformation consumed a lot of energy. "But, isn't it, teacher? Did you tell me to use 430 full strength?" Niwu tilted her head in bewilderment, looking very cute. But now the lovely Niwu is completely like a little devil in the eyes of the female teacher. Of course, she knew that Niwu definitely didn't do it on purpose, but that there was something wrong with her statement. But who would have thought that a 3-year-old child would be so scary after exerting all his strength? Even the average JoNin wouldn't dare to face that kind of Niwu casually, would he? Well, student Niwu, the test this time is only the strength of physical skills under normal conditions, and there is no need to show off such unique secret skills. It's because the teacher didn't express clearly before. Let's continue, the female teacher said with a smirk. Niwu nodded clearly and said, "Then I know, teacher." Then, her eyes suddenly became serious. Her body was slightly lowered, and she assumed a posture of starting while running. When the female teacher saw it, she quickly lowered her body and prepared for it. "Come over anytime," said the female teacher. Then, she saw Niwu's body rushing towards her in an instant. Boom. This punch is really too fast. The female teacher didn't respond at all. This round hit the punch target in her hand, and the heavy force directly knocked her back more than 10 steps before stopping the strong force. So fast. What a strong force. The female teacher was surprised. Although she had a psychological expectation of Niwu's strength, the speed and strength displayed by Hudui still exceeded her imagination. Niwu is only 3 years old. The 3-year-old child actually has stronger strength than her and faster speed than her. Is this really 3 years old? Should it be said that he is the child of Senju Hoshiyakun? She has been so talented since she was a child, and when she grows up in the future, she will definitely be the pillar of Konoha village. The speed is very fast, and the strength is also very strong. The teacher didn't even realize it. Niwu's strength is really strong. In terms of physical skills alone, I am afraid that Niwu students can be comparable to ordinary JoNin, the female teacher said in admiration. Next, Niwu, let's go to the side and take a rest. Other students come to test one by one. Don't be afraid, show your full strength to your heart's content. Students, who are we? Where are we? What did we just see? At this moment, The other students fell into deep contemplation. After school, Uchiha Itachi returned home a little downcast. He did not return directly to his mother's home, but to his original home. As soon as I entered, I saw my father, Uchiha Fugaku, sitting on a chair in the garden. He only glanced at his arrival, and then continued to stare in one direction in a daze. I'm sorry father, I let you down. My test scores are no higher than Sister Nu and Luffy big brother. Uchiha Itachi came to Uchiha Fugaku's side, and said in a dejected tone. After he was taken away by his mother, he thought a lot. He felt that his father had high expectations for him and hoped that he would be excellent than everyone else. Therefore, he wanted to meet his father's expectation, but the result of the test made him disappointed. His performance was unconsciously perfect for a 2-year-old, but what he had to face were two completely unreasonable opponents. Gnu and Luffy don't behave like children of this age group at all. Naturally, in the eyes of other people and teachers, his performance is naturally inferior to Nu and Luffy. This means that Uchiha Itachi once again failed his father's expectations. This made him very depressed. Really? How did it turn out? Uchiha Fugaku asked flatly. Uchiha Itachi looked up and said with some shame, I'm no match for Sister Nu and Luffy big brother, only number 1 in the class. Putting a big hand on Uchiha Itachi's head, Uchiha Fugaku said with a soft sigh, don't worry, you still have a long time in the future, just take your time. I was too anxious this time, sorry, Itachi. Uchiha Itachi's eyes widened. He didn't expect his father to apologize. Never in Uchiha Itachi's memory did his father show such indifference, or even such a humble moment. Uchiha Fugaku has always been an extremely strong character at home. I will work hard. I will definitely become the strongest ninja. Uchiha Itachi shouted loudly, as if to answer his father's expectation. But Uchiha Fugaku just nodded lightly, without much expression. Last night, after his wife took the 2 children away, Fugaku stopped in the garden and thought for a long time. Thinking of all the ins and outs, he suddenly realized, I seem to be too obsessed with the comparison with Senju Starry Night, thus ignoring many things. The companionship with the child has nothing to do with what the child really cares about. All I have ever thought about is that my children can restore the glory of the Uchiha clan. But this kind of thing, even he himself has not done it. Why should he force it on the young child? Is it really what a father should do to show such eagerness when a child doesn't even show his talent? He asked himself, am I really ready to be a father? Or is it just family responsibilities that drive me to do this? Completely disregarding the wishes of the children themselves. Chapter 160. The fastest graduate in history and the youngest graduate in history. What would you like to eat today? Fugaku gave a rare smile. Although it is not beautiful, it is very gentle. It's totally different from the rampant smile that Uchiha Itachi has seen. I want to eat meatballs. Uchiha Itachi thought, didn't want to say. This answer immediately made Fugaku a little embarrassed. He can't make meatballs. But it doesn't matter, just go out and buy it. Anyway, they are all in the same village, so it won't be long. Then, he took Uchiha Itachi to the street and bought some meatballs for Itachi. It's okay to eat meatballs, but you still have to eat, and yin can only be eaten as dessert. Well, Itachi knows. Uchiha Itachi is very happy. This is the first time his father bought him meatballs. Even the meatballs taste a bit special. What happened yesterday still has residual effects. Everyone looked at Uchiha Fugaku with strange eyes. But Uchiha Fugaku pretended not to see it, and now he just wants to spend quality time with his kids. Before the child grows up, before the child faces those problems, Uchiha Fugaku wants to leave some good memories for the child as much as possible. This is the only thing he, a father, can do for his children. Go home. Uchiha Fugaku saw his angry wife in the courtyard. Seeing him come back with Uchiha Itachi in his hand, he immediately rushed forward to prepare for the crime. But when she saw the meatball in her son's hand and the 2 holding hands, her eyes suddenly softened a little. However, his tone was still very stiff. What do you want to do? Terribly sorry. Uchiha Fugaku bowed deeply, interrupting his wife. The wife covered her mouth in shock, staring at her husband with wide eyes as if looking at a stranger. She had never seen her husband behave so humbly before herself or other members of the clan. He has always been so rampant, trying to lead the Uchiha clan over the Senju clan. But the action of Uchiha Fugaku bowing deeply shocked her. What's wrong with you? The wife asked in a panic. Uchiha Fugaku said, still bending over. Yesterday I thought a lot about how I failed terribly as a father and he's terribly failed as a husband. Because of my insistence on going my own way, I have caused you and your child to suffer a lot of grievances. I am sorry. I don't expect to ask for your forgiveness, but please don't take the child away from me. I think, before they grow up, do what a father should do as much as possible, so that when they recall me in the future, it's not just me with abominable memories. The wife is silent. She could hear the earnestness in Uchiha Fugaku's words. The softness in her heart was touched, making her hard heart melt. If you dare to let the child be wronged again, I will definitely take the child away and never appear in front of you again. While saying this in his mouth, he lifted Uchiha Fugaku's body with his hands. Uchiha Fugaku spoke sincerely. Sorry, I will never do it again. Senju and I looked at his good daughter dumbfounded. So, You transformed in front of the teacher? Gnu said seriously. It was the teacher who told me to show my full strength. I think I did nothing wrong. Yes, why did my daughter do something wrong? The teacher didn't speak clearly. Senju Kusanai smiled and rubbed Niwu's little head. While feeling funny, there was also a moment of fear. After all, he was well aware of Niwu's strength after transformation, so if he cut it down, the female teacher might not be able to catch it. If you don't catch it, things will get worse. I'm afraid Senju Kusanai's daughter is dissatisfied with the content of the teacher's teaching in class, and the news of killing the teacher with a knife will spread throughout Konoha. Although he could suppress this matter, for the kind-hearted Niwu, killing an innocent person with his own hands is definitely unacceptable. He didn't want his daughter to bear the psychological burden. Fortunately, things have not changed like this. By the way, is there a test tomorrow? Senju Kusanai asked curiously. Nu shook his head and said, no, the test is over today. Second day of school. Senju Kusanai looked at the female teacher who was full of admiration in front of him, feeling a little helpless. My teacher, I don't know what you mean by that. But the female teacher didn't respond. She just looked at Senju Kusanai obsessively. It was another male teacher at the side who couldn't understand it, and coughed hard, which brought the female teacher back to her senses. Oh, so it is. The female teacher said in a panic. Your daughter and son are already much stronger than their peers. Apart from cultural courses, there is no need to learn anything at the ninja school. Staying in the ninja school is really a waste of time for geniuses like Nu and Luffy. Senju Kusanai nodded and said, so you're going to have them both graduate early? The female teacher was taken aback. Mr. Kusanai is not only handsome, but also can read minds. How does he know what I'm going to say? Cough cough. Seeing this, the male teacher quickly ended his conversation. Yes, Senju-sama, with the qualifications of your two children, staying in the ninja school is just a waste of time. So, we combined the opinions of all the teachers and reported this matter to Master Hokage, but Master Hokage said that this matter needs to be decided by you. You see. Senju Kusanai nodded. Then graduate. He let the children go to school at this time, isn't it just to let them break the fastest stage for ninja school graduation? Now that the goal has been achieved, there is no need for him to twitch here. Then, Gnu and Luffy graduated from the ninja school in less than 10 days. It can be said that it is the youngest graduate with the shortest time since the establishment of ninja school. Am I a JoNin from now on, Dad? Luffy doesn't know who to learn from, and speaks freely like a pirate. He fiddled with the forehead protector in his hand, his eyes full of curiosity. Where did you get this name from? Senju Kusanai rubbed Luffy's little head helplessly, and said, that's right. From now on you are a JoNin of Konoha. You will be assigned a JoNin in 2 days to walk you through the work. Now just go home and stay. Niwu solemnly put away the forehead protector, and then asked curiously, Father, who is our leader JoNin? Temporarily keep it secret, you will know tomorrow. Senju Kusanai smiled lightly, with a sense of mystery. This immediately raised the expectations of the two little guys. And it's not only JoNin who leads the team, but also another companion who doesn't know who it is. The Ninja Squad is a team of 3. Chapter 161. Nu and Luffy's new teammates and leader JoNin. Yuehong's mood is very delicate. She was suddenly transferred from the original team to a mysterious team, which made her very dissatisfied. Obviously, the previous teammates were teammates who had cooperated for several years. Although she knows that there are no teammates who will fight side by side forever, as their strength improves, they will also become ninjas who lead the team and lead Konoha's newcomers. However, she didn't expect it to happen so quickly. The point is, she is not the one leading the team. This is what made Yuehong very dissatisfied. Yuehong, who is just 15 years old this year, is quite well known among Konoha shinobi readers by virtue of the illusion handed down by her father. After all, there are not many phantom ninjas, and by surprise, as long as the key figures of the enemy are controlled, the situation of the battle can be reversed in an instant. Therefore, Yuehong is also quite confident in herself. Result: after being transferred, 340 actually wants to become a member of another newly formed team, and 2 freshly graduated JoNin. The most important thing is that she is not a ninja leading the team yet. Kuroki, who was full of dissatisfaction, waited at the meeting point with a stinky face. She wants to see whose young master or miss needs her to come here specially to escort her. Then, she saw a cute girl and a very naughty boy. Excuse me, are you our leader JoNin? The girl asked quite politely. The voice was gentle and sweet, and Yuehong felt her heart was melted. But the question in the girl's words made her react immediately. Something is wrong. Did you find the wrong person? Little sister, I'm not someone who plays house with you. Yuehong leaned on her knees with both hands, and Yuki said kindly. Luffy pinched his nostrils and said with a look of disdain, you can tell by her age. Our leading ninja must be very strong. Otherwise, how could Dad feel relieved? Luffy, you are so rude. Please apologize to this big sister. Gnu frowned slightly, and slapped Luffy on the back of the head. The force was so great that it almost knocked Luffy's eyes out of their sockets. Even so, Luffy's eyes protrude high above their sockets, looking rather scary. but also full of joy. At least Yue-hong felt that the scene in front of her was very funny. But it seems like these two kids aren't joking. Her eyes fell on Niwu. This little girl looks weak, but her strength is not small. Although she didn't hit herself, but seeing the effect on Luffy, she knew that the slap must be heavy. Certainly not the kind of power this little girl is capable of at her age. Could it be that these two kids are my new teammates? This rather absurd idea popped up in Yue-hong's heart. Wait, I want to ask, are you a new type of Xiu? Yue-hong asked cautiously. She really didn't want to accept this situation. Could it be that she was really asked to be a babysitter for the children of high-level people? This is different from the ninja career she expected. Luffy raised his head and said, "We graduated yesterday. Dad said that we set a record for ninja graduation. We're awesome. It's amazing that you have such a father." Yue-hong rolled her eyes, without thinking too much, thinking that the father of the little boy in front of her was the one in power among the village's senior management. Is big sister really not our leader, JoNin? Niwu was still curious. This is obviously the agreed place, and she only saw Yui Koichi. There's no way a second person will pop up and say it's their leader. JoNin, little sister, I want to be too, but unfortunately I'm not a JoNin yet, although I definitely will be in the future. But how did you find it here? Yue-hong was still struggling to die. From the fact that the two of them were able to find such a remote place, it has already explained a lot of things. Right now they are on the roof of a building somewhere. Ordinary civilians wouldn't come to this kind of place, and ninjas didn't need to appear here. So, even though Yue-hong didn't want to admit it very much, but it seems that these two kids are really her new teammates. I said I'm not leading the team, JoNin. Her strength is not strong at first glance. Luffy immediately pinched her waist in a high-flying manner, with an expression that she was right. Yue-hong was so angry that she wanted to hit someone, but considering how old the child was, she still held back her courageous temper. But if the big sister is not leading the team, JoNin, who would it be? There is not much time left before the agreed time 0. Gnu frowned slightly, puzzled. Whoosh! A figure suddenly appeared. Yue-hong turned around keenly, and saw a white hair. She immediately pointed at the other party in surprise and said, "Are you, Kakashi?" Take Kakashi. Waiting for Kakashi with dead fish eyes to turn his head, he directly ignored Kurena Yui, who made a fuss, and then looked at Nia and Luffy next to him. Then, he sighed deeply. Unexpectedly, the master actually caused him such a big trouble. In fact, originally Niwu and Luffy's leader JoNin should not be Kakashi's, although Kakashi is known as 50-50, but that is later. Kakashi, who is still young, can't reach the 50-50 level of the later Hatake. Namikaze Minato was supposed to be in charge of Senju Starry Night to lead Niwu and Luffy's team JoNin. After all, Namikaze Minato is the younger person he knows, and he is more suitable to lead JoNin. But Namikaze Minato's son, Namikaze Naruto, was born not long ago, and now he can't wait to be around his wife and children every day, so he can only marry Kusanai's invitation. As someone who has experienced it, Senju Kusanai expressed his understanding. "So, I found Kakashi recommended by Namikaze Minato." Senju Star Yoruichi muses, "That's not bad either." Although Kakashi seems unreliable, it is also responsible. And Senju Kusanai does not intend to let his children go out of the village to do tasks in 1.6. At most, it's helping people find lost pets in the village. Almost anyone. Then, such a weird combination was born. In terms of age, Kakashi is 1 year younger than Kurena Yui. But it doesn't prevent Kakashi from becoming the leader JoNin. Because Kakashi is JoNin, and Old Hong is just Chunin. In the world of ninjas, everything speaks of strength. "Okay, I am your leader JoNin. Take Kakashi. Come and introduce yourself." Kakashi looked at the front with a pair of dead fish eyes, without focus, and didn't know what he was thinking. Yue-hong snorted coldly, said with her arms folded, "I am Yue-hong, Chunin, good at illusion." Since the situation cannot be changed, she can only convince herself to accept it. "My name is Senju." Chapter 162. What is going on with the children of the Senju clan? When it was his turn to introduce himself, Luffy clasped his hands behind his head and said carelessly, "My name is Senju." "Wait, what's your name?" Kurena Yui suddenly widened her eyes and grabbed Luffy's shoulder. Luffy was taken aback. Kakashi had already reacted to this, because he knew beforehand who the 3 people he was going to bring were. "I also know how fascinated girls like Yue-hong are in Senju Kusanai." Although he also admitted that Senju Kusanai is impeccable in terms of strength, character, and outstanding appearance. But he still couldn't understand why the girl was so obsessed. Obviously Senju Kusanai is already married, and there are many wives and concubines, and the children almost have 2 football teams. But these girls still can't wait to marry into Senju's family. So, for the current situation, Kakashi had expected it. "Big sister, you scared me." Luffy was stunned, and said with a cute face. Only then did Yue-hong realize that her actions were somewhat reckless. But she couldn't help it. She heard "Oh, right," the little boy called him, clapping hands. "Right? I don't know what his name is, but his last name is Senju." In Konoha, she knows very well what the surname Senju stands for. This little boy turned out to be the child of Mr. Kusanai. If so, so is this little girl. No wonder so cute. Although not as good as Kusanai-kun, but still very cute. Niwu didn't know why and looked at Zai Haihong's doting eyes on her. It's not uncommon for her to see this kind of gaze. The mothers in the family all look at her and other younger siblings in the same way. But it was the first time she saw such a strong gaze in the eyes of outsiders. Sister, do you know us? Niwu asked curiously. Yuehong shook her head quickly. I don't know you, but I really want to know your father. He is the most perfect man in this world. As she said that, she clasped her hands tightly in front of her chest, raised her head slightly with a look on her face. Seeing her like this, Luffy said suddenly, "Oh, so you want to have a baby with daddy?" Kakashi's eyes widened instantly, and he looked at Luffy in disbelief. Is this something a 3-year-old can say? It shocked him so much. Even Yui was red. Her face was a little embarrassed, although she really wanted to, but being a child among so many people, not many people either. But she was still embarrassed to say it so bluntly in front of others. Can you take me to your father? Although her cheeks were red, Yuehong asked persistently. Completely forgot why she was here. All she wanted was to use Luffy and Niwu to get close to the man of her dreams. It can be, but not today. Huh? Why not? Sunset Red said anxiously. Kakashi couldn't stand it anymore. Cough cough. It was only then that Yuehong realized that her already red face was as red as a boiled crab. The self-introduction is not over yet. Only then did Yuehong realize that she still didn't know the names of Wu and Luffy. I'm so desperate. Be reserved. Be reserved. Hold back. Luffy continued to introduce himself. My name is Senju Luffy, and my specialty is the rubber body. Like this. Luffy pulled his face, and suddenly pulled it to the side, directly pulling it out for more than half a meter. Kurenai Yui and Kakashi opened their mouths wide in shock. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This is really a literal rubber body. How can the human body do this? Does the Senju family still have this bloodline? Gnu further explained. It's a system unique to Luffy, and according to my father, only Luffy is like this. It's okay if you don't explain it. The two of them can imagine the mysterious secret technique or forbidden technique and the like. But with such an explanation, wouldn't it be clear that this is not a secret technique or a forbidden technique? This kind of categorical saying that there is only one person is too outrageous. Even if it is the blood inheritance limit, it can be inherited and taught. It turns out that Luffy's rubber body is unique. Kakashi looked at Niwu. How about you? Niwu shook his head and said, my name is Senju Niwu, and my body is normal. Kakashi and Yuehong immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the two siblings have a normal one. But, I can transform. Transform? Kakashi and Yuehong looked at each other. The first thing they thought of was the transformation technique, one of the 3 body techniques. This is one of the ninjutsu that must be mastered to become a JoNin. Considering that Niwu is only a 3-year-old child, he sees that Luffy has something special, but he doesn't, so he just casually says that he wants to make himself special. They can understand all this. Then, can I let my sister take a look at Niwu's transformation? With that encouraging look, she looks like a caring big sister. Niwu nodded. Afterwards, light emerged from her body, and then quickly grew into a female form. The light dissipated, revealing that incomparably mysterious gesture. Kakashi and Yuehong stared up at the transformed Niwu with their eyes wide open. They never expected that the transformation that Niwu was talking about turned out to be this kind of transformation. It's a million miles away from what they thought. And this majestic aura is definitely not the transformation of common. This is too exaggerated. Are you, your Senju children, also special? Yu Haihong pulled the corner of her mouth and asked in disbelief. This is also 0732 exaggerated. I haven't heard that the Senju family has such a bloodline. Could it be that it was inherited from the mother? But Senju Starry Knight's wives don't have this talent either. What kind of bizarre event is this? Kakashi looked at Kurenai Yui speechlessly. What are you asking? How impolite is that? It's like saying that other people's children are abnormal. Fortunately, the children's parents are not there. Otherwise you will definitely be taught a lesson. Hearing Yu Haihong's words, Niwu thought about the situation of his younger brothers and sisters, then pointed his fingers and said, Sister Leah is very serious every day, reading some books that I can't understand, and can conjure a very powerful gun. Brother Mew's 2 eyes are beautiful, red like a bunny, one eye can conjure words, and there is a small black dot in the other eye. Kang-san's sister is very fun. She can always conjure up many of her, as if having many younger sisters. I like her very much. Brother Sesshomaru and younger brother Inuyasha are twins. Both of them are very naughty. They fight at every turn, and they always like to make Shiwa's mother angry. Sister Eve has an interesting body, and her hair turns into a fist. Kakashi and Yuehong looked at each other, and then looked at Niwu, who continued to tell. At this moment, deep doubts arose in their minds. What happened to the children of the Senju clan? Chapter 163 My Senju station is not a place where I can come and leave whenever I want. The tasks experienced by JoNin, who just graduated, were tedious and boring. Either looking for a lost pet, or running errands for someone else. It doesn't cost much, and it's a waste of time. Just finished 2 D-level missions and the time has passed. After agreeing on the place and time of the next meeting with the others, Kakashi yawned and left. But Yuehong had no intention of leaving at all. She looked at Niwu and Luffy with burning eyes, and even Luffy felt a little unable to adapt to this enthusiasm. Well, What are you doing looking at us like that? Luffy felt terrified at the sight, and couldn't help but hide behind Niwu. Yuehong's eyes are really scary, as if to eat him up. Niwu looked at his younger brother helplessly, and then asked seriously, "We're going home. Is my sister going home too?" "Go home? Can I go home with you?" Yuehong replied in a strange way, but when he recovered, his face turned red. She didn't take it back, though, and kept staring at Ne and Luffy. Although it was blurted out, it was also her thought. She wants to meet Senju Starry Night, even if it's cheeky. "To our house?" "All right then." Niwu was a little surprised, but didn't think deeply. And Yuehong is now a member of the team, so she is naturally their friend. Niwu is still very happy when friends come to play at home. After all, growing up in a Senju resident, the children of the Senju family don't have many friends. After arriving at the ninja school, there was not so long for Niwu to make friends. Uchiha Itachi, the only friend who can be called a friend, is still studying hard in the ninja school. "I don't know when I will be able to graduate." "Marvelous." Seeing that Niwu agreed, Rihong jumped up excitedly. After that, she quickly tidied up her appearance, avoiding the slight embarrassment caused by the previous task, which was too rude. "Weird guy tilde," Luffy muttered softly. Although he himself said that Zai Ryong was the same as those women who wanted to marry Dad, but he forgot about it after he said it. Luffy wasn't one to remember things for a long time. Only those people and things he is interested in will be engraved in his memory as ministers. Go home. Entering the Senju station in Legendary, Yuehong, who came in for the first time, was full of surprises. Constantly sighed. "It's so big, there are many houses." "Is that room Mr. Kusanai's room? Or that one?" "No. The one inside is more magnificent. It must be that one. Wonder if I can get a room here?" Saying what was in his heart, Yuehong's cheeks suddenly became rosy. "Little sister, even if you like my husband, isn't it rude to say it so blatantly?" Yuehong's face suddenly turned pale, and when he looked up, he saw a woman in a gorgeous long dress coming gracefully. When Niwu and Luffy saw this woman, they immediately said obediently, "Hi, Mama Shiori." Yuan Shizi nodded in response, and then looked down at Yuehong with her height advantage. "My husband's excellence is obvious to all, so I can understand that you fall in love with him. But as a girl, there are not necessary exceptions. My husband, it's not like any random bees, waves and butterflies will accept it." Yuehong's face turned paler and paler after saying something. Compared with the noble and luxurious woman opposite, she is like a town girl from the countryside. There is no comparison at all. At this moment, she deeply felt that her wish was just a delusion. Those who can accompany Senju Starry Night are all such excellent women, right? I'm just an ordinary woman in Konoha. I don't have strength, I don't have background, and even my figure and appearance are very different from the other party. Yuehong felt extremely inferior in her heart. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm leaving now." She lowered her head. She couldn't even meet Yuan Shizi's eyes. With tears in the corners of his eyes, he turned around and wanted to leave. "Stop. Who gave you permission to go?" "My Senju resident. Is it a place where you can come and go whenever you want?" Yuan Shizi's stern words made Yuehong's body tremble immediately. She stopped but didn't dare to turn her head. With her head down, she only heard slight footsteps approaching her. Then, she saw the luxurious skirt appeared in front of her eyes. She saw that a pair of hands as white as jade reached out and held her cheeks. Her face was lifted, and she saw a beautiful woman. The beauty of the other party even made Yuehong, who is a woman, a little intoxicated. "Since you have the courage to step in, don't regret your choice. If you only have this level of courage, you'd better never appear in front of me again." Yuan Shizi spoke softly. Her tone was not as harsh as before, but instead had a hint of encouragement. Although the words were still merciless, the sensitive Yuehong felt the kindness shown by the other party. I think." Under the encouraging eyes of the other party, Yuehong wanted to express her true thoughts. Yuan Shizi looked at her quietly. Her eyes gradually softened. "Whatever you want, you have to go after it bravely. Don't expect to be given alms. There will be no sweet tangerines, only rotten apples." Yuehong's eyes immediately became firm. "I want to marry Mr. Kusanai." She looked at the other person's eyes and said it firmly. But then, in the smiling eyes of the other party, he understood what he just said. His cheeks suddenly became hot like fire. "What did I just say?" Saying that she wants to marry her husband in front of other people. "It's too embarrassing to say such a thing." "Ugh, good promise. I really want to get into the cracks in the ground." Yuehong suddenly covered her cheeks, not daring to look at Yuan Shizi's face. At this moment, shame and panic filled her chest, but there was no fear at all. Perhaps seeing Yuan Shizi's bright smiling eyes made her feel no longer afraid. "Why are you so shy? Are you so shy to say what you think?" Yuan Shizi's words were full of smiles. "It's completely different from the stern look just now." "Did Mama Shiori scare someone just now?" Niwu asked curiously. "Hey baby, I just want to test it out." Yuan Shizi stretched out her hand to hug little Niwu, and gently tapped her nose. Then, his eyes fell on Yuehong, who was looking at her through the fingers. "Since you have the courage to step here, you must have the corresponding inner awareness. After all, not everyone can be your husband's concubine." Chapter 164. Those who can enter here have all passed our inspection. "Well, Mrs. Shiori, did I pass your test?" Yuehong put down her hand, Her cheeks were still flushed, but her eyes were firmer now. Madoka nodded in satisfaction. You have good eyes, although you still have the jerk of a girl. But since you dare to use common sense for your own love, then you are a good girl. However, whether to accept you as a concubine or not, you still need to ask your husband what he thinks. Yu Haihong's expectant eyes suddenly disappeared. But the last time I talked to Mr. Kusinai was during the JoNin exam a few years ago. Only met on the street, and no chance to strike up a conversation. Senju Kusinai wanders the streets of Konoha when he has nothing to do. It is very easy to meet Senju Kusinai, but it is very difficult to get in touch. After all, Senju Kusinai has a special identity and is always protected by Anbu in the dark. Some outrageous fans have formed Senju Kusinai's support club, from 80 to 8 years old. As long as women want to get close to Senju Kusinai, they will all be questioned by them. Once they find out that they have bad intentions, they will immediately establish an extremely strict blockade line, and it is impossible to get close to Kai and Kusinai Kai at all. Yu Haihong's performance naturally failed, and she was already on the blacklist of the Senju Starry Night Support Club. As long as she appears within 50,640 meters of Senju Starry Night, 10 support club fans will immediately appear in front of her to prevent her from approaching. It is also because of this that Yu Haihong always looks at Senju Starry Night from afar, and has no chance to really get in touch with Senju Starry Night. If you want to ask, you can stay. It's rare for little Niwu to bring a friend, even though this friend has ulterior motives. Yuan Shizi smiled lightly, and Yu Haihong immediately lowered her head in shame, without the face to look into Ni's curious eyes. Judging from the results, she really looks like an unscrupulous villain who deceived the little girl. However, you are a person who has passed the assessment, otherwise you will not even have the strength to enter the gate. So don't feel like you've cheated little Niwu. If we don't agree, it's impossible for you to come in, let alone become teammate of Xiaomi Xiao and Xiao Luffy. Yu Haihong suddenly raised her head, covering her mouth with surprise. You said, you agree with me. Yuan Shizi smiled and said nothing. Yu Haihong's eyes immediately filled with surprise. She said excitedly, did Mr. Kusinai notice me long ago? Yuan Shizi shook her head amusedly and said, Akf, of course not, I don't include him in our list. Yu Haihong was a little disappointed, but she quickly realized that she looked at Yuan Shizi strangely. Us? Could it be Mr. Kusinai's? In front of Yuan Shizi, she was embarrassed to say the somewhat ambiguous word wives. But Yuan Shizi understood what she wanted to say, and Yin Fang nodded in acknowledgement. Every woman who can get close to her husband has passed our strict testing. Identity, background, strength, personality, etc., all need to be investigated clearly. After all, the husband has a special identity, and we should not allow some people with evil intentions to approach. And the husband shoulders the responsibility of letting the Senju clan flourish, so even if you take a concubine, you can't just take it lightly. At least have something special. Hearing this, Yu Haihong asked nervously. Then am I qualified? Yuan Shizi said with a smile. With us, you are qualified. As long as you have met your husband and your husband agrees, then you will be our sister from now on. After hearing this, Yu Haihong not only didn't feel surprised, but became even more nervous. If Mr. Kusinai disagrees, the more Yu Haihong thought about it, the more frightened she became. After all, she just realized how mediocre she is compared to Senju Starry Night's wives. She couldn't think of what Senju Kusinai could see in her. Relax. My husband is very talkative, Yuan Shizi said with a light smile. Husband has gone out and will probably be back in a while, so you should stay with Niwu for a while. Yuan Shizi put Niwu down, handed her over to Zai Haihong, then turned and left. Yu Haihong's face was full of nervousness, holding Niwu's little hand, not knowing what to do. Niwu looked curiously at Yu Haihong's face, which turned red and then pale, and asked curiously, Sister Hong, are you feeling unwell? Do you want to see Mama Tsunade? Mama Tsunade is very powerful. No matter where Niwu hurts, Mama Tsunade puts her hand on it and the pain immediately disappears. Of course, Master Tsunade is the strongest medical ninja in the entire ninja world. Yu Haihong shouted in her heart, but after being distracted, Yu Haihong felt that her mood was no longer so anxious. She knelt down and forced a smile to look at little Niwu. Let's go, take me to see Niwu. How about your residence? Okay. Niwu nodded, and brought Zai Haihong to the courtyard where she and her mother lived. As for Luffy, after greeting Yuan Shizi, he ran away without a trace. Maybe I went to brag with a younger brother or sister. After all, he is the first child of the generation of the Senju clan to become a ninja. The 10th. Back in the courtyard, I didn't see my mother use Uzumaki Kushina. Niwu was not surprised, and mother didn't always stay in the courtyard. Especially when my mother became a fox mother, she went back to find Tamae-sama's ex-sister. If you can't see it in the courtyard, you're either busy in the kitchen, or looking for Tamae-sama's former sister. Niwu is used to it. This is the courtyard for me and my mother. There is Yuzuo's ex-sister living here, but she is not here now. She must have gone to another place with Mother Fox. Yu Haihong nodded. She had heard this name before when Niwu introduced her younger siblings. Nanawu, what do you usually do alone? Yu Haihong looked at the wide courtyard, which was too big for a 3-year-old child. When there is only one person, it must be very lonely. Gnu said seriously. Niwu is everyone's elder sister, so Niwu must practice hard and protect everyone in the future. When Yuehong heard it, her eyes were full of love. Niwu is really reliable. Brothers and sisters must like Niwu very much, right? Niwu suddenly smiled shyly. Although Niwu has always been very mature, she is just a child who is only over 1 year old after all. Since it's training, then I'll accompany you, Sunset said with a smile. As a JoNin myself, isn't it more than enough to train with a 3-year-old child? However, after half an hour passed, the exhausted Yuehong was about to collapse. Is this the blood power of the Senju clan? Such a strenuous exercise without even breaking a drop of sweat? Chapter 165. Even in the past 10 or 100 years, I am willing. Sister Hong, do you want to take a break? Niwu looked at Yuehong with a worried face, with self-blame on his face. It's all Niwu's fault. Sister Hong has already done the task for a day, and Niwu is not sensible enough to train with Sister Hong no more. How could it be such a foul? Seeing Niwu's small expression of self-blame, Zai Ryong's heart ached. She immediately straightened her body, patted her chest and said, "What is this? I can continue." "It doesn't matter if you practice with Xiao Niwu for a day!" Yuehong said bravely. "At this time, I can only hold on." How could the lovely Niwu show that heartbreaking expression? Really? Niwu suddenly laughed happily. "You don't need to train for a day. You don't need to show off." A gentle voice came from the courtyard door. Listening to the voice that had been imagined countless times, Yuehong's face suddenly became rosy. But at this moment, she didn't dare to look back at the figure she had seen countless times in her dreams. "Father!" Niwu cheered and rushed over, and jumped into Senju Kusanai's arms. Senju Kusanai smiled and picked up his eldest daughter, and said with a light smile, What does it feel like to be a ninja?" Niwu helped an aunt find his lost pet today, and also sent some things to an uncle. Niwu talked about what he experienced today. His eyes sparkled with excitement. Although these are not important things, this feeling of helping others makes Niwu very happy. "That's good." Senju Kusanai smiled dotingly, and then put her down. At this time, after a long period of mental preparation, Zai Haihong finally turned around and looked at the face she had been thinking about day and night. You, hello." After stuttering and saying hello, Zai Haihong immediately lowered her head, complaining constantly in her heart. "Why is my mouth so stupid? First impression sucks. Mr. Kusanai won't take me for a fool, will he?" "Yuehong, I remember you." Senju Kusanai came to her with a soft voice. "I didn't expect Tsunade's new team member to be you. If it was you, I would feel more at ease." "Eh?" Yuehong looked up in surprise. "You know me?" "You don't need to say it. I'm just a few years older than you, so I don't use such a respectful title," Senju Kusanai said with a smile. Zai Haihong blushed immediately, and said in a voice like a mosquito, "Then, Lord Kusanai?" If Senju Kusanai's ears were not good enough, he might not be able to hear her. "You can call it that if you want. As for your purpose of coming, I have already heard." "Have you considered?" Hearing Senju Kusanai being so straightforward, Rihong's face suddenly turned red with embarrassment. But this is what she dreamed of. How could she back down at this time? I do not want to." Yui's red face suddenly turned pale. Her eyes also became dull. "Eh? Has my dream just shattered like this?" "You're too young. If you really have this idea, let's talk about it next year. If you still have this idea next year, come to me." Yuehong's face was filled with blood again. His eyes were full of fear. Looking at Senju Kusanai's gentle smiling face, he wanted to say something to complain but couldn't say it. Now she has only one thought. "I am willing, even in the past 10 or 100 years, I am willing." 100 years from now, we may not be here anymore. Senju Kusanai looked at Yuehong dumbfounded. Afterwards, he carefully looked at Yuehong. Women in the ninja world think they will mature faster. The same is true for Sunset Red. Just looking at her figure alone, some people would believe a 20-year-old woman. But Senju Kusanai knows her current age, and she can't get over the hurdle in her heart. So even if there seems to be nothing wrong with Yui's infrared watch, Senju Kusanai wants to wait until she is old enough to say this. Anyway, wait a year or two. He was young enough to afford to wait. Yuehong was very happy to get Senju Starry Night's promise. In the evening, I also got the Senju Starry Night reception and enjoyed a variety of delicious food. They are all good things that she has never seen before, or she is usually reluctant to eat. After dinner, Senju Kusanai personally sent her out. Along the way, Zai Haihong buried her head deeply like an ostrich, concealing her shyness. As everyone knows, this makes it easier for others to see her true feelings. 0 for flowers, 0. From now on, Gnu and Luffy will trouble you and Kakashi to take care of them. If you have time, you can come and play, and get acquainted with the atmosphere in advance. Senju Kusanai said with a light smile. When Zai Haihong heard him say that he knew her well in advance, her complexion changed even more. "Well, I'll be here often." Just about to go out, Zai Haihong suddenly thought of a few familiar sisters. She quickly turned her head and met Senju Kusanai's gentle smile. "Well, I have something to say." The more Yuehong spoke, the lower her voice became, and her cheeks became more and more rosy. Senju Kusanai asked, "Is something missing?" "I'll ask someone to get it." "No, actually." With a blushing face, Yui told the thoughts of her sisters. 0. Several of their sisters are on the blacklist of the Senju Starry Night fan group, and they are strictly guarded by those people on weekdays, and they have no chance to contact Senju Starry Night at all. Now is a rare opportunity, as their good sister. Of course she can't eat alone. So I told the other sisters' love for Senju Kusanai. After finishing speaking, he carefully looked at Senju Kusanai because she felt that she was a little bit pushy. Obviously he has already got the promise from Senju Kusanai, but now he asks Senju Kusanai for more. This made her feel guilty. You mean Anko and Lin, right? I saw you two together during the last JoNin exam. It seems that your relationship is really good. Senju Kusanai said with a smile. If they think like you can tell them, come to Senju Station to find me. I will be home every day. Even if I'm not at home, just wait for a while, and I'll be back. When Yuhong heard it, she jumped up excitedly. Mr. Kusanai, you are so kind. They will definitely come over. After speaking, she ran out excitedly. Obviously, I couldn't wait to tell the good news to the two sisters. It's really welcome. Madoka's teasing voice came from behind. These three little girls have all been evaluated, and their talents are not bad, and they can carry on your family for you. Senju Kusanai turned around with a wry smile and said, stop making fun of me. Since I have agreed on their lives, I will naturally do my best to be responsible for their lives. Chapter 166. Will Niwu like his brother or sister? Gnu and Luffy graduated from the ninja school, and under the leadership of JoNin, Kakashi became the team leader. They started to complete various tedious D-level commissions in the village in a stable manner. Every day, Gnu and Luffy go out during the day and come back in the afternoon. After a long time, Uzumaki Kashina felt a little bit reluctant. It's not that I'm worried that the child will be injured. After all, there are so many people helping to take care of it, so nothing will happen. She just misses the baby. Aware of her mood, Senju Kusanai hugged her and said with a smile, look, your good sister Mikoto is about to give birth to her second child. Do you want to follow her? Uzumaki Kashina couldn't help giving him a blank look. Then I thought about it carefully. Senju Kusanai saw that she was serious, so he quietly hugged her and watched the setting sun. Anko and Lin also got his promise. If their minds haven't changed in the coming year, March 17th, Senju Kusanai will marry the three of them. Now, they will come to the Senju residence to visit from time to time to get acquainted with the life here in advance. After all, they are the ones who will live here in the future. Coincidentally, Calamus is about the same age as them. Then we can marry together. Now that they are married to him, he naturally wants to give them an unforgettable wedding. This is what he can and must do as a husband. After a long period of contemplation, Sui Kashina said softly, do you think Nu likes his younger brother or his younger sister? Senju Kusanai said with a smile, I don't think she minds. Her younger siblings are much better. Uzumaki Kashina rolled his eyes. But as Senju Kusanai said, Nu, as his eldest daughter, has a bunch of younger siblings underneath. She would only be happy to have one more. But maybe she wouldn't care about gender. Then, give her a younger brother. After giving birth to a daughter and a younger brother, my life will be perfect. Uzumaki Kashina leaned his head gently on Senju Kusanai's shoulder, with a happy smile on his face. Then I have to work harder today. Senju Starry Night laughed, then bowed his stomach and Uzumaki Kashina's belly and said, so, Llama, don't come out to make trouble today. The Nine-Tails girl living in Uzumaki Kashina couldn't help but rolled her eyes, turned around and continued to think about the moves that could defeat Senju Starry Night. Uzumaki Kashina also slapped him with a chuckle. Not serious. Haha, without further ado, let's start now. Senju Kusanai hugged Uzumaki Kashina directly around the waist. With her exclamation, she rushed into the next room. In Rain Country Rain Shinobi Village, Uchiha Obito put on a spiral pattern mask and a black cloak with red auspicious clouds, adding a mysterious atmosphere to the whole person and reducing some of his speed ratio qualities. In front of him is Nagato in the same dress. Shido statue is behind him, extending countless pipelines connected to Nagato's body, maintaining the nutrition of Nagato's body. When Danzo and, aren't you ready yet? Uchiha Obito deliberately lowered his voice to imitate Uchiha Madara's voice. Nagato glanced at him lightly, then said, haven't found enough suitable flesh for Pent 6 paths. It's almost time to prepare. Since the battle of Nagato wiped out Hanzo of the Salamander and most of his ninjas, Rain Shinobi Village has been under his control. The members of the original Akatsuki organization were sent to various places by him because of lack of strength, responsible for maintaining the stability of Rain Shinobi Village. And he is cooperating with Uchiha Obito, who came to the door and calls himself Uchiha Madara, and is recruiting enough powerful ninjas to form the strongest organization. But after all this time, Nagato hasn't finished Pent 6 paths. He has relatively high requirements for his Pain 6 paths. After all, among them, Pain is his best friend Yahiko, and others naturally cannot make up the number. Uchiha Obito had no choice but to grab more people to give to Nagato. But few could fall into Nagato's eyes. By the way, there is news about Xioxing. Uchiha Obito seemed to suddenly remember, and said the news. In fact, it has already been known. It's just that Nagato has not been told. Because he knew that if Nagato knew the news, he would go to get Conan back immediately. But Conan's current position and her state let Uchiha Obito know that now is not a good time. But now he had to. Nagato has to have a sense of urgency. For no Haruin, Uchiha Obito shouted in his heart, but his face was very cold. Really? The news of Conan was thrown out, and Nagato's expression changed immediately. Not as casually as before, his eyes widened, staring at Uchiha Obito. Nagato has lost his best friend, Yahiko, another friend he must never lose. So no matter what the cost, he will bring Conan back. Where is she? Nagato said word by word, cooperating with the ferocious judo statue behind him. The imposing manner that rushes to the face seems to be able to overwhelm people. Uchiha Obito didn't care about Nagato's momentum, and said lightly, in Konoha, the residence of the Senju clan. Nagato's eyes widened. It was in Konoha, and it happened to be the Senju station. Nagato knew right away how tricky it was. Senju Kusanai is now a big figure who can shake the entire ninja world. Whether it is Senju Real Estate or Senju Bank, they are all important industries related to the entire ninja world. Once there is a problem with him, the whole ninja world will be in chaos. At that time, I am afraid that the fourth ninja world war will start directly. Of course, this is nothing to Nagato. But what gave Nagato a headache was the significance of Conan's presence at the Senju resident representative. Now everyone knows that all the women living in the Senju resident are the wives of Senju Kusanai, except for his daughter 5.9. The fact that Conan appeared means that Conan has also become the wife and concubine of that 1000-minute Starry Night. If it was before, when all three were there, Nagato would definitely congratulate Conan when he heard the news. But now Nagato, who has lost Yahiko, just wants Conan to be by his side to make up for his inner loneliness. That's why he didn't know whether Ping Hut was married or not. But it is undoubtedly an extremely difficult thing to bring back from Senju's resident Vice Admiral Conan. Not to mention the strength of Senju Starry Night itself. The Kage-Level powerhouse that Konoha now has is enough to make Nagato's scalp tingle. After all, the current Nagato does not have the confidence to fight 4 or 5 Kage-Level powerhouses at the same time. In short, Nagato's time fighting with Rinnegan is far too short. Chapter 167 Absolute Command and Absolute Time. Time flies by. 3 months passed quickly. After working hard day and night at Senju Starry Night, Uzumaki Kushina's stomach finally responded. At this time, she was already 2 months pregnant. In another 8 months, she will give birth to a healthy and lovely baby for Senju Starry Night. But today, the protagonist of the Senju resident is not her. It's her best friend, Uchiha Mikoto. After being pregnant for 10 months, she is finally going to give birth to her second child for Senju Kusanai. The sun is high in the sky. Outside the delivery room, Tate Kusanai stood calmly in the courtyard. Beside him, the curious Muke stared at a pair of unique eyes, also looking at the closed door. Dad, Mom's voice sounds very hard. Senju Mu pointed to the faint voice coming from the delivery room, and said worriedly. Senju Kusanai touched Mukuro's Cerebellaro 4 bag, and said softly, Mom is very hard, so Mu must take good care of her. Understand? Should know. Mu nodded heavily, his small face full of seriousness. Good boy. Senju Kusanai lowered his head and chuckled, his eyes full of doting. At this time, there was a high-pitched shout in the room, and then the room fell into silence. About 10 seconds later, the room suddenly remembered the cry of a baby. This voice made Senju Kusanai heave a sigh of relief. Even if it has been experienced many times, it has already had many children. But every time he heard his wives making painful sounds in the delivery room, he couldn't help being anxious. This will not be relieved by his excessive experience, because every time, it is a huge challenge for wives who are mothers. It won't be easier the second time just because you've had one. Senju Star Yifeng rushed into the delivery room, holding hands with Xiaomin. Ding, congratulations to the birth of the 20th son of Host. Drawing Talent. Talent 1, Beast Titan. Talent 2, Absolute Command. Talent 3, Absolute Time. Senju Kusanai saw 3 choices and immediately ruled out the first one. There is absolutely no need for Titan or something. In the ninja world, this kind of clumsy Titan can only be used as a target, not even capable of fighting back. The second talent, Categorical Command, sounds strong, but the actual results are unclear. As for the third one, Absolute Time, like the second one, seems to be a very strong talent. But Senju Kusanai did not dare to choose rashly. I still remember that there was once a talent with a famous name called the Emperor Engine. But in the end, it was a talent that had no effect at all, but had side effects. But this time, he didn't have the strong sense of uneasiness when he encountered the Emperor Engine. So maybe this talent is not bad. Senju Starry Night can't figure it out. But after excluding the first option, the second and third talents are a bit of a gamble. Senju Kusanai pondered for a while, wondering which talent to choose. Senju Tsunade looked at him standing at the door with some doubts. What are you thinking about? Senju woke up in a startled Starry Night, and hurried forward to check on the child's condition. The child was still crying loudly, with a loud voice, and it sounded like a boy. While seeing the child, Senju Kusanai also made his own choice. No matter how these two talents are, At least his intuition has no warning. It shows that these two talents are not too bad. It doesn't matter which one you choose. So Senju Kusanai decisively chose the second one. Categorical order. And Absolute Time with an even more arrogant name was eliminated by him. Talent. Absolute Command. Grade. A. Super Kage-Level Initial Stage. Talent Introduction. By looking at each other, you can give the other party orders that must be executed. Orders are absolute. The ordered cannot resist the order, and a person can only execute one order at a time. The memory of the person who was given the order will disappear during the execution of the order. Commands can be issued to multiple targets at the same time. Senju Starry Night was surprised. It turned out to be an ability to forcibly distort the will. He immediately thought of an ability. The Mangekyo Sharingan ability possessed by Uchiha Shizui, known as the Instant Shizui in the future. Distinguished Heavenly Gods. Distinguished Heavenly Gods is known as the strongest illusion, which can change a person's cognition invisibly and cannot be changed. It is almost the same as the ability of Absolute Command, as expected of an A-level talent. The effect is truly astonishing, although there are some small shortcomings, but the flaws are not hidden. As long as it is played properly, it will definitely play a huge role in the future. Senju Kusanai looked down into the child's eyes. A gleam of red light flashed in the pitch-black pupils, and then suddenly turned into red. In Red's eyes, there is a solitary black goo hanging on it. The younger brother, like the big brother Mukuro, is a genius born to awaken Sharingan. The talents of the two brothers in Sharingan are so outstanding. If people in the Uchiha family know, they will definitely do everything possible to get the children back. But how could Senju Starry Night make their wish come true? His child can only have the surname Senju, and it will only be Senju. Chapter 168. This child will be a heartthrob in the future. Introduction to other talents. Beast Titan, C+, a titan with beast-like features. Its appearance has a great relationship with the host. The appearance characteristics displayed by different hosts also vary greatly. Possesses powerful strength, as well as the characteristic advantages of beast appearance, sleep county flexibility. Absolute Time, A. The talent holder will get special eyes called fiery red eyes. In the case of agitation, the originally pitch-black fiery red eyes will turn into bright red, and at the same time will gain the special ability of Absolute Time. In the situation of Absolute Time, all aspects of ability will be greatly enhanced, but the price of opening Absolute Time is to speed up the passage of one's life. If the opening time is too long, you will fall into a faint state, and at the same time increase the speed of life passing. Is a double-edged sword with a huge cost and a huge improvement. Unexpectedly, Absolute Time is an A-level talent. However, the side effects of Absolute Time are far greater than Absolute Commands. Opening will consume life, and there is a greater risk of opening for a long time. Senju Kusanai is very thankful that he did not choose this talent. As for the Beast Titan, let's not talk about it. Just a piece of rubbish. Senju Kusanai looked up and saw that the child had stopped crying and was looking at him curiously. The eyes that have been restored to black are deep and divine. It can be seen from the eyes alone that this little guy will definitely be a heartthrob when he grows up. Just call you Lelouch. Senju Lelouch. Senju Lelouch. Talent. Absolute Command. A. Senju Bloodline. C. Uchiha Bloodline. C+. Qualification. B+. Kage-Level Peak. His aptitude did not reach Super Kage-Level, but he was at the pinnacle of movie level just like Big Brother. There is definitely no problem in having higher qualifications in the future. But looking at Lelouch's talent and Mukuro's talent, Senju Kusanai was suddenly curious. If Lelouch and Mukuro's Senju bloodlines are raised to the level of Sage Body, and then they are all awakened to Mangekyo, will their eyes automatically become Rinnegan? After all, the two of them have the dual blood of Ashura and Indra in their bodies. Thinking about it this way, curiosity is hard to suppress. But it's too early to think about that. Mukuro was only 2 years old, and Lelouch was just born. It is not easy to open Mangekyo Sharingan. There is still a chance to verify this matter in the future. Now that you have chosen a talent, it's time for system feedback. Ding! The talent of the offspring has been confirmed. Random feedback host rewards. Congratulations to host, you have obtained the talent code imprint, residual. Code imprint, residual. Grade, B+, Kage-Level Peak. Talent introduction, can give anyone the ability called Geese. Geese ability varies from person to person, and will be determined according to the strongest desire of the endowed, and the choice cannot be changed once. Due to the incomplete talent, the Geese ability granted will have certain defects. Those with the code will not be affected by any Geese effects. Note, Absolute Command is one of Geese abilities. Senju Kusanai's eyes widened slightly. It turned out to be an ability that can empower others. If his understanding is correct, he must produce blood succession boundaries, and there is no limit to the number of times. However, this ability will definitely not be used by others casually. At most, it is a person who trusts himself. And with this ability, people around him who don't have much strength themselves may also be able to gain the power to protect themselves. although he can protect his wives and children. But who can deny having more power? All in all, it's a pretty awesome powerhouse. But Senju Starry Night is not going to be used right now. Since this ability is incomplete, the geese ability given will also be flawed. If you want to give, then give the best. How could Senju Starry Night let his wife and children get incomplete abilities? Therefore, before this talent is complete, Senju Kusanai does not intend to use this ability on his own people. However, it may be possible to use it on others to try the effect. Anyway, the effect of geese has no effect on him. If the opponent acquires an ability that is so powerful that it cannot be controlled, just eradicate it directly. As for the candidates, it still needs to be considered. Senju Kusanai picked up the child, and then sat down on Uchiha Mikoto's bedside, jokingly said, "What should I do? Another boy? Should I continue to work hard until I give birth to a girl?" With a virtuous personality like Uchiha Mikoto, he couldn't help but roll his eyes at this moment. Because she was a little weak after giving birth, she didn't want to speak at all. It was Senju Tsunade who came up and said speechlessly, "Is it so fun for you to have a baby? Give birth when you say it? Don't talk nonsense if you don't understand anything. Go, 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 don't disturb Mikoto and the child's rest." Like expelling vermin, Senju Tsunade drives Senju Starry Night out. Obviously Mikoto is so tired. This heartless person even said such a thing. Chapter 169 Super Kage-Level Peak Strength. Senju Kusanai was kicked out of a delivery room. Mukuro stayed inside, staying with his mother and younger brother. "Mom, was he born in mother's womb?" Mukuro asked curiously. They collided with Lelouch's wondering eyes, and then they were deeply attracted to each other. The somewhat weak Uchiha Mikoto smiled and said softly, "That's right. Lelouch Jr. is Muka's younger brother. You must protect him from now on, you know." "Muka will definitely protect my brother and mother." Mukuro patted his small chest to reassure, making Senju Tsunade on the side and Uchiha Mikoto on the bed smile knowingly. But Senju Tsunade smiled, but couldn't laugh anymore. "Compared with other sisters' children, the bastard I gave birth to is really annoying. Not to mention getting into trouble every day. There is no mother who is as big as other children." Luffy's nerves are just too rough. And because of his talent, how can he fight without pain? Which makes Senju Tsunade very angry. 107 If she is allowed to use a sharp weapon against Luffy, she will feel distressed again. The days spent with her son every day exhausted her both physically and mentally. Well, why is there such a big gap between son and son? Senju Kusanai, who was kicked out, heard a system prompt again. Ding, congratulations to the host for the special achievement of setting off children in groups I. The number of descendants is 20. Get rewards, own strength +1, random talent +1, random equipment level +1. Senju Starry Night has been expected before giving birth to use Ao. He received a lot of rewards for having 10 offspring. Now that Lelouch happens to be the 20th child, it is normal for him to be rewarded as well. Soon, the power of the system filled his body. He felt that his strength had been greatly enhanced. Strength is improving. Upgrade success. Promoted from A level, Super Kage-Level midterm, to A+ level, Super Kage-Level peak. The strength has finally reached the peak of Super Kage-Level. As long as he goes one step further, he will be able to become the first 6 paths top powerhouse in his family. When the time comes, he won't need to be so worried. Even against 10,000 years Uchiha Madara, he's not in vain. The improvement of strength brings all-round understanding. Whether it is wood style, or fairy art, etc., there has been great progress. The mood of Senju Starry Night has become infinitely better, and the rewards of the system are far from over. Confirmed to upgrade the talent to Sage Body. Talent is improving. Upgrade success. Promoted from A level, Super Kage-Level midterm, to A+ level, Super Kage-Level peak. Sage Body has also reached the peak of Super Kage-Level. Further, it will also become a 6 paths level power. I don't know if it goes further. Will it directly have the 6 paths mode? If you can, it's a step up to the sky. There is still a big difference between 6 paths level and 6 paths mode. In the ninja world, Senju Starry Night understands the power of the 6 paths mode all too well. 4 Ek, than common ninja, it is completely crushing on the level. If you want to fight against the Otsutsuki clan that will come in the future, 6 paths level combat power and 6 paths mode are definitely a must. And there is still such a long time. Senju Kusanai believed that he will definitely be able to obtain the strength of Super Master 6 paths. With systematic blessing, you are so confident. And the last reward of the system has also been implemented. Confirmed that the equipment is Gecko Moria's scissors. Equipment level is being upgraded. Upgrade success. Upgraded from Gecko Moria's scissors, plus, to all things break middle. Ecstasy, disabled, C. Equipment, all things break middle. Ecstasy, residual, grade, C. JoNin early stage. Equipment introduction. One of the scissor-shaped Tegu. It can cut anything in the world. Because it is not a full version, the cutting ability may sometimes fail. It's not bad. At least, let a useless piece of equipment become somewhat useful, and Tegu knew it very well. But I didn't expect Tegu to be used not only as a talent, but also as equipment. Don't know what is the difference between the two? Even if the gifted Tegu is destroyed, it can be restored. Equipment Tegu cannot be recovered after being destroyed. The system immediately gave a concise and clear answer. Answers the doubts that Senju Starry Night just rose. I see. He nodded suddenly. Although the equipment upgrade is a bit tasteless, but in general, the overall improvement is still very obvious. It was only one step away from reaching 6 paths level strength, which made Senju Kusanai eager to test his strength. Unfortunately, it is obviously difficult to find a suitable opponent. Senju Starry Night itself does not want to leave Konoha village, and it is difficult to achieve the desired effect of Senju Starry Night with just word clone. Forget it. There will be opportunities in the future. It's better to be safe now. Senju Kusanai extinguished some thoughts in his heart with some regret. Now there is no invincibility to the extent that you can wave casually. Chapter 170. As expected, a father, he is too strong. Although Senju Kusanai wants to test his current strength, but considering that his own strength has not yet reached the level where he can ignore everything, he could only regretfully give up the idea of going out of the village to find an opponent to test. But what he didn't expect was that this opportunity would come to him on his own initiative. Senju Kusanai standing in the courtyard feels the incomparable power in his body. I secretly calculated the previous perception in my heart. The first is the amount of chakra, which is more than doubled than before. According to a rough estimate, there are probably more than the 30 shadows. With such a huge amount of chakra, Senju Starry Night can do more things. He closed his eyes and let his consciousness sink into the surrounding trees. In an instant, all the buildings created by his wood style immediately appeared in his mind, forming a three-dimensional map. Senju Staryoruichi knows exactly what those people living in the house are doing again. If you let Jiraiya know about this, you won't be able to stop drooling, right? Senju Starry Night withdraws his attention from the village bathhouse. How can the vulgar fans inside be compared to the crowds of beautiful wives at home? A strange fluctuation caught Senju Starry Night's attention. This is Xiaohai. Senju Kusanai frowned slightly. Why did Black Zetsu run over at this time? Do you want to give gifts again? Let's see what he's doing first, Senju Starry Night thought. Immediately a wood clone separated from the trees near Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu, who was rushing fast with a mayfly technique, never expected that the rain would suddenly appear beside him. And depending on the situation, it seems to be directed at him. This made Black Zetsu even more startled. Can you spot me from this far away? As expected of my father, he is really too powerful. Black Zetsu's eyes were full of admiration, and he also emerged from the ground. Father, I haven't seen you for a long time. Your father's strength has become even more unfathomable. Black Zetsu's mouth was full of compliments, and so were his thoughts. Although I haven't seen through Senju Kusanai's strength before, but seeing Senju Starry Night today, I can clearly feel a stronger momentum than before. This is also because Senju Kusanai has just improved his strength, and has not had time to restrain himself. As a result, Wood Clone has shown an extraordinary degree. Well, what are you doing here this time? Senju Kusanai nodded slightly, and looked at Black Zetsu calmly. Black Zetsu didn't dare to neglect, and immediately said what he was going to report. Actually, it's Nagato from the Akatsuki organization, who knows where Conan is, and is now planning to come and take Conan away. Senju Kusanai narrowed his eyes, and a dangerous aura poured out immediately. Black Zetsu trembled all over, and immediately lowered his head, not daring to look directly into Kienkian Kusanai's eyes. But this breath disappeared in a flash, and Black Zetsu thought it was just his own illusion. Then, Black Zetsu heard Senju Kusanai's cold words. It seems that he has not yet realized himself as a tool man. For your plan, I will not execute him, but you'd better be able to restrain his behavior. This time, I will teach him a lesson he will never forget. Senju Kusanai's tone was so indifferent that it made people shudder. Nagato is going to suffer, Black Zetsu thought to himself. Asking for flowers. But I don't think it's a pity. Although Nagato's presence in his plan Vice Admiral will play a very important role, but with Senju Starry Night's second set of plans, this is Black Zetsu, but it's not so flat. If the Akatsuki organization can't complete the plan to collect tailed beasts according to his expectation, he can also cooperate with Senju Kusanai to collect other tailed beasts. But when it comes to tail beasts, I don't know what the current situation of 3 tails and 4 tails is. Father's sealing techniques are really clever, even I can't detect the slightest breath of tailed beasts. Black Zetsu thought with admiration in his heart. But he had no idea that 3 tails and 4 tails had already entered reincarnation, and they would be revived in a few years. Since the matter has been notified to my lord father, then I will take my leave, Black Zetsu said with his head down. Senju Kusanai nodded. Well, go ahead and don't expose the relationship between you and me. This is related to Kage's resurrection plan. Black Zetsu immediately nodded yes, then sank into the ground and left quickly. After Black Zetsu disappeared from perception, the wood clone also dispelled itself and turned into a small tree. In the courtyard, Senju Kusanai frowned slightly. The situation of the Akatsuki organization has been under surveillance. After all, the pair of Rinnegan is still worthy of respect. But that's all. After all, the Rinnegan owned by Nagato is someone else's eye. He relies on the identity of the Uzumaki tribe, and he can control it by using the huge chakra in his body. But after all, it is not my own eyes, and the power that can be exerted is also limited. Senju Starry Night is not afraid of him. Just in time, he still lacks someone to test his current strength. Nagato is clearly the most suitable opponent right now. Chapter 171 Sage Art True Several thousand hands. Nagato didn't know that Black Zetsu had tipped off. At this moment, he is controlling Heavenly Dao Pain, heading towards Konoha village at an extremely fast speed. For this trip, Nagato did not prepare any special plans, because he believed in the strength of Tandao Pain, and also believed in his own strength. Even if he fell into the siege of many Kage-Level powerhouses, it would be easy for him to leave. Is this the Valley of the End? The final battle between Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara in Legendary. Through the eyes of Tandao Pain, Nagato looks at the two giant statues in the Valley of the End. Both of these people are known as the gods of the ninja world. Just because these two people suppressed an era, July 27th not only ended the era of chaos that lasted for an unknown period of time, but also officially opened the curtain of the ninja village era. It is also because the strength of the two of them has reached the peak. Rumor has it that the two of them died one after another in that battle that lasted forever. But now it appears that Hand Hashirama is dead. But Uchiha Madara is not dead. But Nagato has deep doubts about Uchiha Obito, who wears a mask and calls himself Uchiha Madara. After all, everything about Uchiha Obito is too suspicious. Wearing a mask, who can believe what you say, just with your Sharingan? Anyway, Nagato doesn't believe it now. But for the world described by Project Tsukinomi, Nagato joined their plan even though he didn't trust Uchiha Obito. It doesn't matter if people are reliable or not, as long as the plan works. Anyway, as long as I can rely on myself. Sudden. Tandao Pain, who was galloping, stopped and looked ahead vigilantly. In his pair of Rinnegans, he saw a figure suddenly appearing in front of him. And that face is the most handsome man in the entire ninja world that he met a few days ago. Senju Starry Night. But it's clear that Tandao Pain doesn't have any interest in Senju Starry Night's appearance. He is frowning deeply now, not understanding why he would be exposed. Obviously not close to Konoha's enchantment yet. Is this the Rinnegan? It looks strange. Senju Kusanai looked into Tandao Pain's eyes curiously. These fearless words made Tandao Pain frown. This is the Eye of God, with the power of God. Senju Starry Night, maybe you have strength comparable to Senju Hashirama, but in front of the eyes of these gods, everything is futile. Tandao Pain said coldly. Hand over Konan before I beat Konoha village. At this time, Nagato is extremely confident. Rinnegan's mighty strength has made him swell to this point, because I haven't encountered an enemy who can get close to me. Senju Kusanai had a smile on his face and looked very kind, but in his slightly narrowed eyes, there was a bone-chilling coldness. How dare you ask him to hand over his wife? Do you think you are impatient? It seems that these eyes make you very swollen. Why, in front of these eyes, no one is my opponent. Tandao Pain is extremely confident. Senju Kusanai smiled lightly. What if I say no? Wrong choice. Tandao Pain stretched out his right hand. Universal pull. Senju Kusanai's body was sucked in uncontrollably. In the other hand of Tandao Pain, a black stick that can block the flow of chakra also appeared. But Senju Star Yiming knows Rinnegan's ability, so how could he fall for it so easily? Wood-style middle dot cutting technique. A seemingly fragile twig emerges from Senju Starry Night's fingers. But Tandao Pain had seen Uchiha Obito use this technique, so he knows the power of this technique. Never let this technique attack you. In desperation, Tandao Pain could only give up the move to bring Senju Kusanai back. The huge suction force immediately turned into a powerful repulsion force, smashing the branches emerging from Senju Kusanai's fingers, and pushing Senju Kusanai out. God Liu Tansine. Senju Starry Night was pushed out with great force. But there was a smile on his face. As we all know, the Shen Liu Tansine has a 5-second cooldown after each use. And what can 5 seconds do? Huh? Senju Starry Night will tell everyone. Sage mode. Wood style middle dot sage up middle dot true several thousand hands. Mysterious lines appeared on Senju Kusanai's face, and as he crazily exported the chakra in his body, an extremely huge Buddha statue appeared. The Buddha statue sits on a lotus platform with palms folded, and behind the Buddha statue are thousands of palms. The height of the entire Buddha statue plus the countless palms behind it, 4.1 is more than 1,000 meters. It's a real giant. Tandao Pain looked up at the huge opponent in front of him, and his thinking fell into a sluggish state. What is this? How can he have such a powerful force? Senju Kusanai stood on the head of the Buddha statue, condescendingly looking down at Tandao Pain who looked like an ant. This, Senju Hashirama created the Valley of End with one blow. Let you bear it too. Turning Buddha on the top. Countless huge fists suddenly appeared in Tandao Pain's eyes. Every blow can carry huge and incomparable power. Chapter 172. It turns out that I am not a god. God Liu Tan. Boom. Nagato, who was hiding in the distance, opened his eyes suddenly. There was unconcealable fear in his eyes. His heavenly Tao pain was wiped out in an instant. What kind of terrifying power is this? The god Luo Danzing, who is always invincible, can't resist the attack that smashes the sky and destroys the earth. It turns out that I'm not a god. A wry smile appeared on Nagato's face. At this moment, his swelling was like a balloon that was punctured by a needle, and flew away quickly. Yes, just a touch of melancholy. With an existence like Senju Kusanai blocking the way forward, how should he collect those tailed beasts, especially now that all 3 tailed beasts are in Konoha village? The plan to collect tailed beasts can be said to be even more difficult. Well, he sighed deeply. Beside him is a human path to help him move. Because of the inconvenience of his legs, Nagato can only rely on the help of others to move. This kind of thing can only be done by Nagato's most trusted person. Originally, Nagato planned to hand over this matter to Conan, but looking at it now, this matter is no longer possible. Conan, don't worry, I will definitely bring you back. Although Nagato was shocked by the strength displayed by Senju Kusanai, but his fighting spirit was not extinguished. He is very clear that his eyes still have great potential that has not been developed. He will concentrate on training until he can defeat Senju Kusanai. Let's go. Nagato exhaled lightly, and said to the world. Ren Jiandao didn't say a word, stepped forward to carry Nagato on his back, and planned to leave. But at this moment, boom, the airtight space where Nagato was hiding was suddenly broken. The figure of Senju Starry Night appeared in front of Nagato. Senju Starry Night. Nagato's eyes widened, pupils constricted. At this moment, he really felt the approach of death. With a distance of several kilometers, Kienki and Starry Night approached in such a short period of time, and precisely found his hiding place. This is impossible. But the facts are in front of us. Even if he doesn't believe it anymore, he can only accept the facts that happened in front of him. Right now, apart from him, who has limited mobility, there is only human beings who are not good at fighting. Although relying on the ability of human beings to grab souls, as long as they receive Kienki and Kusanai, the battle can be resolved. But how could Senju Starry Night give the world a chance to get close? However, the attack that Nagato expected did not occur. Senju Kusanai looked at Nagato and said lightly, because of the friendship between you and Conan from childhood to adulthood, I can let you go this time. But next time you dare to say something stupid about taking Conan away from me, I promise you will die a miserable death. Afterwards, Senju Kusanai looked at Nagato's thin body, and looked at Nagato's legs that could not stand. If you want to walk on your own legs again, you can try my products. Why? Of course, it's not on the market yet, and the price will definitely be more expensive. But I'm sure you can afford it. After finishing speaking, Senju Starry Night in front of Nagato turned into a small tree and took root on the ground. Only then did Nagato discover that what appeared here was just a wood clone from Senju Starry Night. While heaving a sigh of relief, Nagato smiled wryly at his poor performance. This fear of the Senju Starry Night may be accompanied by a long period of time. However, Senju Kusanai's last words ignited another hope in Nagato's heart. If Nagato can obtain a body that can move freely, he will definitely be able to exert stronger power. I just don't know what the product Senju Starry Night is talking about. The price is geometric. Just preparing to form a new Xiao organization. The leaders don't have much money at the moment. Rain Shinobi village is a barren village, and there is not much money. But it doesn't matter, with Nagato's strength, isn't it easy to make money in the ninja world? In order to raise funds itself, Nagato has already planned to intervene in the wars of all parties in the form of mercenaries. That's why he needs powerful members to join the Akatsuki organization. However, no suitable candidate has been found yet. When we get back, we need to hurry up and make Pen 6 paths. If you're dawdling, there won't be much time left for me. Ren Jiandao silently carried Nagato on his back again. This time, no one popped up to stop them from leaving. A silent battle subsided almost without anyone noticing. Even the Valley of the End, which is a battlefield, quickly regained its former prosperity under the wood style of Senju Starry Night. Those two statues seem to be tilted a little bit, but if you don't look carefully, you shouldn't find it. Black Zetsu, who watched the entire battle, stood on the head of the statue of Uchiha Madara, full of emotion. As expected of a father, true several thousand hands strength is not far behind Senju Hashirama. With this power, there are many fewer obstacles on the road to resurrecting the mother. I also want to work hard and create more opportunities for my father to collect other tailed beasts as soon as possible. Chapter 173. Did Master Senju Starry Night do it, or Master First Hokage? Senju Starry Night is very satisfied. Although he didn't exert his full strength, he also vented half of the huge chakra in his body. Perhaps in terms of wood-style attainments, Senju Starry Night is almost the same as Senju Hashirama, but in chakras Emperor, Thousand Suns Starry Night still can't compare with Senju Hashirama. But it doesn't matter, Senju Starry Night has Kurama as a movable chakra library, so there is no need to worry about this aspect at all. And he believed that as his strength continued to improve, he would definitely not have to worry about the amount of chakra. What are you thinking about? So happy? When Senju Tsunade came out of the delivery room, he saw Senju Kusanai standing in the middle of the yard and giggling. Senju Kusanai turned around and opened his hands, and said with a smile, "How can you see any difference in me now? I just saw it. How could it be different?" Senju Tsunade rolled his eyes, thinking that Senju Kusanai suddenly fell ill. But she still felt Senju Kusanai's body carefully. Then, her eyes widened in surprise. The chakra inside you. Although Senju Tsunade's perception ability is not strong, it is the strongest medical ninja in the ninja world. Under this distance, and with a special inspection, he could still perceive the situation in Senju Kusanai's body. Immediately, she sensed Senju Starry Night's huge amount of chakra. It is several times more than the amount of chakra she has. It is too exaggerated. "How did you do it?" Facing Senju Tsunade's doubts, Senju Kusanai smiled without saying a word, turned and left with a mysterious smile. Senju Tsunade froze for a moment, then gritted his teeth and shouted, "You bastard!" Because Uchiha Mikoto was still resting in the delivery room, Senju Tsunade didn't dare to disturb her by making loud noises. Senju Tsunade only felt very annoyed looking at her husband, who was full of pride even from his back. As for Senju Starry Night, he only dared to be so skinny. After all, he still dare not tell his family about the existence of the system. Who knows if the system will suddenly disappear after saying that, or directly destroy his body. Although the system has not said that there is such a function, it is better to be careful. It is better to keep the existence of the system as the deepest secret in your heart, although it is calm here. But the situation on the other side of the Valley of the End was discovered by the patrolling Konoha shinobi. Although Senju Starry Night uses wood style to restore the situation in the Valley of the End as much as possible, but the damage caused by true several thousand hands is still too strong, and it is impossible to completely recover. After all, the Valley of the End itself was created by Senju Hashirama with true several thousand hands, and Senju Starry Night's true several thousand hands is strong in power but not weak, and naturally it completely changed the appearance of the Valley of the End. Fortunately, the aftermath of the battle did not affect the two statues, otherwise this statue like a landmark would probably cease to exist. The next day, when Senju was shopping at a Starry Night, he heard people discussing this matter on the street. "Have you heard? Something strange happened in the Valley of the End. It is said that the entire terrain has changed." "I've heard about it, but I don't know what happened." "It's really strange. I heard that these were actually typed by one person." "Impossible? Who has such strength?" "Even Master First Hokage can't do it." "Don't tell me." "There are still people who think Master First Hokage did it himself." "It's broad daylight. Don't scare people." "Master First Hokage has been dead for a long time. But how to explain the trees that pop up suddenly in the Valley of the End?" Now the only one who knows wood style in the entire ninja world is Senju Kusanai. But Master Senju Starry Night's child was born yesterday, so he will definitely not leave Senju's residence. That's why some people think that Master First Hokage is not dead yet. In short, whether it is done by Master Senju Starry Night or Master First Hokage, it is only good for us, which means that the strength of our Konoha village will only become stronger and stronger. That's right. Senju Kusanai passed by the chatter with a slight smile. Unknowingly, people in the village have linked hand Starry Night with First Hokage, whether it is strength or merit. As Senju Hashirama, who ended the troubled times and created the ninja village model, he has a huge body of fame for the whole ninja world. The people of Konoha, Wangzhou, are full of pride in this matter, proud of being born in Konoha. Now, if there is a figure comparable to Senju Hashirama to continue to lead Konoha forward, it will undoubtedly be an exciting thing for them. What's more, Senju Star Yoruichi is not weaker than Senju Hashirama in terms of merit. Senju Properties brought them a comfortable home. Senju Bank makes them no longer worry about money. Senju Pharmaceuticals has helped some difficult and miscellaneous diseases to be rescued, and even minor ailments can be cured by medicine, so that people don't have to suffer from pain. In addition to these industries that are closely related to their lives, there are also Senju newspapers, Senju Mechun food delivery, express delivery and so on. Chapter 174. Everything is under control. Senju Starry Night. Current strength, Super Kage-Level peak, A+. Chakra volume, 36. Shadows. Talent, Sage Body A+. Wood Style B+. Elemental Holy Spirit S+. Qualification, A. Summoning Beast, Ra's Wing Dragon, A+. Owned equipment, Shining in the End of the Spear Remnant, A. Vongolaring Mist. Full version, A. Natural Teeth, B+. Iron Broken Teeth, B+. Kabbalah Tree of Life. Seed Form, B+. All Things Are Broken. Middle. Ecstasy, Remnant, C. Frivolous Illusion, C+. Special Skills, Flying Thunder God Technique, Sage Mode. You did it. In the Hokage office. Although Senju Tsunade was asking, his tone was very positive. Now she can do the terrain-changing thing in the Valley of the End, and in her memory, only her grandfather Senju Hashirama is the only one. But Senju Hashirama is dead. The most likely person left, who can release wood style at the same time, is only Senju Starry Night. Senju Kusanai smiled and said, "There was a breakthrough in cultivation, so my hands were itchy for a while. Rest assured, no one was hurt, there were no witnesses, no one will know." Senju Tsunade rolled his eyes. Does she care about this matter? Moreover, such a large forest suddenly appeared, as long as a normal person would think that it was you who made it. But this is not the point of her calling Senju Kusanai over. Put that aside for now. I called you here today because of the Orochimaru matter. Senju Kusanai frowned slightly. What happened to Orochimaru? Recently he has mobilized a lot of research funding, and he even asked me to seal the book saying that he wants to conduct research. Then give it to him. Anyway, haven't we already used most of the ninjutsu in the Book of Seals as a reward for motivating civilian ninjas? Senju Starry Night doesn't care. Of course he knew what Orochimaru was researching. It is nothing more than finding a way to live forever from among the various forbidden techniques created by Senju Tobirama. And Senju Starry Night knew that given Orochimaru enough time, he would definitely be able to do it. Senju Starry Night is also of particular interest. Of course, not Orochimaru's body-changing reincarnation. After all, Senju Kusanai is very satisfied with his body. His interest is impure world reincarnation. The impure world reincarnation body will not feel tired, nor will it die, nor will it be injured. Another way of thinking, isn't this the ultimate employee who never needs to rest? Thinking of this, Senju Kusanai hoped that Orochimaru could understand impure world reincarnation as soon as possible. However, this forbidden technique is still too evil in the eyes of others. Playing with the soul of the dead is not tolerated by others. Senju Kusanai is not easy to explain clearly. It may be that the research he is doing requires the above knowledge. What kind of research requires the knowledge of those forbidden technique? Senju Tsunade frowned. Those forbidden techniques each have various defects, or huge destructive power, so they are banned. She didn't think that among those flawed forbidden techniques, there was knowledge needed for Orochimaru's research. Senju Kusanai looked left and right, and after confirming that there was no one there, he came to Tsunade and whispered, "Actually, I'll ask him to do research on chakra rice." Chakra rice? Senju Tsunade's eyes widened. Is that what I understand? Of course. Think about it. If children eat food containing chakra every day, won't they have a lot more chakra when they grow up? If the research works out, that's really a very big impact thing. Senju Tsunade pondered for a moment, then nodded slowly and said, "In that case, I agree. But you have to remember to supervise him at all times, and don't let him go astray." Senju Kusanai patted his chest for assurance. "Don't worry, everything is under my control." After my painstaking persuasion, Tsunade agreed to lend you the sealed book. You have to study it carefully, understand? Senju Starry Night patted Orochimaru on the shoulder, acting like I gave a lot. Orochimaru was silent. But he wants to understand those forbidden techniques, because he can gradually feel the obvious difference between his physical fitness and his young self. Having experienced the death of his disciple Senju Nawaki, Orochimaru had a resistance to death. He doesn't want to die. He wants to study the method of longevity. And the sealed book may contain the answer he was looking for. I do thank you. But you should know that knowledge of chakra rice is not required to study it. Orochimaru squinted at Senju Starry Night, as if trying to see through someone he had never seen through. Senju Kusanai said with a smile. You're interested in those forbidden techniques, and so am I. But I don't have the research spirit like you, so I might as well leave it to you. This is called specialization in the art industry. Chapter 175. Are you a devil? That's why you trust me? Orochimaru was silent for a long time before speaking slowly. Forbidden technique in the Book of Seals. The things in it are all good things that make ninjas salivate. Senju Kusanai is so relieved to give him such an important thing to look at casually. Orochimaru didn't believe that Senju Kusanai trusted him so much. There must be some conspiracy here. Senju Kusanai just smiled and said, I can't find a reason why you would betray us. Your research, whether it is funds or manpower, we will supply you as much as possible, and give you a space where you will not be disturbed. If you are going to betray us like this, then I really have nothing to say. I can only admit that I was wrong. Orochimaru looked deeply at Senju Kusanai's smile, not seeing any falsehood. Then he snorted coldly and said, You are really naive. However, Orochimaru felt a little warm inside. Naive or not, this almost unreserved trust made him seem to have found a sense of belonging. Orochimaru, who was an orphan, grew up in Konoha from childhood. He is a genius, there is no doubt about that. But he was a little emotional. After 2 ninja world wars, he was already tired of these beatings and killings. He prefers to do what he wants to do, to study ninjutsu, chakra, and the mysteries of this world. With the support of Senju Kusanai, he can do any research he wants without any scruples. Being able to gain this trust, Orochimaru was full of gratitude. However, I do have some selfish intentions. Senju Kusanai's words brought Orochimaru back to his senses. Orochimaru didn't doubt Senju Starry Night's words. After receiving many research tasks from Senju Kusanai, Yin Shimara knew very well that the executioner Kusanai supported his research full of selfishness. However, hearing Senju Kusanai mention it at this time, Orochimaru also felt a little curious. Because the selfishness brought up at this time must be related to the sealed book. You know, reanimation jutsu. Senju Kusanai showed a smile. Orochimaru frowned slightly. What is that? Orochimaru, who has not read the Book of Seals, naturally does not know this ninjutsu that has changed the form of future warfare. Senju Kusanai was not surprised, and simply explained the main points of this technique to Orochimaru. Created by second Hokage, it is a ninjutsu that can call back the souls of the dead from the Pure Land Vice Admiral and control them. Sounds evil. I didn't expect second Hokage to create this kind of ninjutsu. Orochimaru frowned slightly. He once heard from his teacher Sarutobi Hiruzen that the second Hokage had created countless ninjutsu. It also contains a lot of forbidden technique. I didn't expect that there would be such a cruel ninjutsu. Calling back the soul from the Pure Land. Do you want to call out your family? Orochimaru thought he had guessed the answer. He felt that Senju Kusanai must be feeling lonely because of his continuous efforts to grow the Senju clan. So if you have the ability to call your relatives back from the Pure Land, you will definitely try it. But how could Senju Starry Night do such a thing? I'm not that interested. Senju Kusanai waved his hand, then looked at Orochimaru with bright eyes. People who come from impure world reincarnation will not die, will not get tired, and don't need to rest. Don't you think this is the top tool, man? As long as the number of people is sufficient, the production capacity of all aspects can be greatly improved by then. Seeking flowers. At that time, unimaginable wealth will gather around me. Senju Kusanai opened his hands and looked up at the ceiling of the laboratory. His high voice was full of passion. Orochimaru's mouth twitched slightly. Are you a demon? This vicious thought is comparable to a demon in hell. If there is such a place as hell. He never expected that Senju Kusanai wanted to study the forbidden technique for such a reason. But also understandable. After all, Senju Starry Night is not only a ninja, but also a businessman. The value of those industries under Senju Starry Night may have exceeded hundreds of billions, and I believe it will not take long to exceed trillions. This huge amount of assets is enough for Senju Kusanai to be the richest person in the entire ninja world. In fact, what Orochimaru doesn't know is that Senju Starry Night's assets have already passed trillions. But those are only invisible assets. At present, the amount of assets that Senju Kusanai can use is about 600 billion. But now too many people owe him money. If all the money is returned, Senju Starry Night can break through 1 trillion with ease. Currently, Senju Starry Night's most profitable business is still Senju Real Estate. But Senju Pharmaceuticals is also catching up at breakneck speed. As long as the Senju Real Estate reaches saturation, Renmin Pharmaceutical can easily generate income from the real estate. Facing Orochimaru's complaints, Senju Kusanai just smiled. I'm also thinking about my employees. After all, takeaway and express delivery are still dangerous in the game. If you can do it with the impure world reincarnation body that is not afraid of death, you don't need to worry about it. If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this. And join my Patreon if you want to support me, link in the description. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.